What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Unknown to everyone in Metropolis, a lone blonde figure could be seen high above on one of the many buildings of the city. He was overlooking the city with look of interest. The cloth he wore was standard Enbu uniform consisting of black and gray armor, metal arm guards and gloves, black boots with spikes for traveling into mountainous regions, 3 ninja pouches on that back waist and raven summoning tattoo in his left shoulder. Also he wore half-black mask on right side of his face. Ichigo wizard mask in black and only half. How all this began? Were Madara and Tobi truly ended for all fighting, or was it for everyone but me? These thoughts going around the head of the blonde figure. Flashback starts. 6 months passed since 4th Great Shinobi War began and many shinobi were died in this terrible war. Even though Naruto appearance was great help in war, it's still not enough. Alliance of 5 great nations was losing their manpower. Itachi and Sasuke were dead. They were able to stop Edo Tensei and killed Kabuto, but they were unable to stop Edo Madara from acquiring his full life. There just weren't enough people to stand against infinite number of Zetsus. Shinobi Alliance not only lost 2 out of 5 cages, more specifically those cages were Godem Cage Gaara and Sandame Tsuchikage Onoki. They also lost Jinchuriki of 8 tails. Despite all their effort, there was only half shinobi populace lived, but they still refused to give up to enemy and kept fighting. Until one faithful day, Naruto Uzumaki 3rd Jinchuriki of Kyuubi no Yoko was captured, and this brings us that day, when extraction of 9 tails was begins. Hidden Akatsuki base. 9 ethereal dragons came out from the demon statue Gedo Mazo, and heads toward the unconscious form of Naruto Uzumaki. They wrapped around the blonde's body and formed one sphere. Inside line alive Madara and Tobi were smiling evilly. Soon sealing will complete, then first 10 tails and then whole world will be mine, said Madara, who was now alive. In the end, child of prophecy, you have failed. Now the world belongs to the Uchiha clan like it should have in the beginning. They started the process. The demon statue started to act, but chakra was coming out of the dragons turned black and started flow backward. What's going on here? The founder of Konoha yelled while Tobi was looking at scene in shock. Madara looked at blonde with his Rinnegan eye and noticed a smirk on his face. Then he saw Naruto was muttering one word with his lips. Madara's eyes were widened in horror when he realized what he was trying to say. Fools! Stop that jutsu! He yelled out in fear. He's placed a powerful fuinjutsu on himself that will reverse effects of the sealing. He tried to say more, but vortex appeared on Naruto's stomach and chakra of the other tailed beasts starts to absorb into it. Madara's eye winded even more when he saw what was happening. No, my plan. That damned Uzumaki clan destroyed my plan. Again, he yelled out and tried to cancel the jutsu by using his Rinnegan, but it doesn't work. Tobi, help me stop the jutsu. He yelled out, getting a nod from Tobi. Tobi also used his Rinnegan Sharingan eyes to cancel jutsu, but he failed and something else happened. He notices his hands were fading away. The wind directing to the vortex grew stronger and Tobi's eyes was widened in horror. What's going on? He said and tried to teleport himself away, but he absorbs into vortex. And no. This can't be happen. Arrrrgghhhh. Tobi cried out as his head and the rest of his body drawn into the vortex. Madara saw this and the same thing was happening to him. Naruto started to chuckle and then laugh. Damn you Uzumaki and your clan. I will not die like this. I'm an Uchiha. I will become Goodd. He cried out as he was absorbed into the vortex, while the black-colored chakra continued to enter the vortex that was on Naruto's stomach, and then black light. He had gone from this world. In dark void. Pain. It was everywhere around him. A void in which he was floating for what seemed like eternity. His identity was washed away in the stream of agony, his thoughts silenced by the noise that wasn't his. There were no colors, no sensations, just pain. He knew he was still alive, on some level at the least. He didn't think of it, he didn't dwell upon his situation. He clung on his own self-awareness with single-mindedness that was a purpose unto itself. If he let go of it even for a moment, he knew he'd be washed away by the unseen torrent of agony, piece by piece. He floated, like a leaf on the wind that was. How did he know what wind was? Then he felt that he could. He was confused, but he still held onto his indeterminable position, with that instinct that tells us not to let go, or we would fall. It was the fear of falling that was the most primal sensation humans felt upon their birth, and it never really goes away. Finally, boy, I didn't think you'd make it here. Someone said from dark. Who? You are crafty as always, Uzumaki Naruto, a deep voice spoke from within the darkness. Just what I would expect from the child of prophecy. It was tall, at very least it was 10 feet tall. Its body was a rotting sickly gray color with black rune or perhaps seal-like markings over what was visible of its left hand and forearm. Sharp obsidian black nails, onenju, or Japanese prayer beads wrapped around its left hand, wrist. Its face resembled a Hania mask. A pair of horns flowing out of its long spiky white hair. A knife sheathed in its razor-sharp obsidian black fangs. A pair of demonic eyes glaring down at them. The sclera and pupil both a deep obsidian black while the iris was a brilliant golden color. And a long white robe, the only thing covering its body, yet left its chest and some of its navel in full view. Shish Shinigami-sama, Naruto whispered. Yes, child of prophecy, you wear that name proudly, but that is not all I am indebted to you for, Shinigami-sama continued. You are the one to seal Uchiha Madara and Tobi who wants to monstrously defy my powers of death, and you are the one who restore balance and peace in element nations. As a god, I shall pay back my debt, but first same people want to meet you. Hello Gaki, a deep voice came from Shadow. It shocked Naruto since the voice very familiar to him. No, it can't be. Naruto whipped around to see Jiraiya was standing behind him with his arms crossed and smirking at him, looking exactly like the last time when he was alive. Ero Sennin, he shouted as he hugged his godfather. It's good to see you too, Naruto, Jiraiya laughed. Well, this looks like a very nice reunion, isn't it? Chuckled an old raspy voice. Once again Naruto was shocked as he saw the Sandaime Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was behind him in his Hokage outfit. He gave him one of his grandfatherly smiles to Naruto. Hello Naruto-kun, how are you? Naruto released Jiraiya and glommed his surrogate grandfather. There are more people coming, Naruto. I hope you are okay with a nice reunion with everyone. What do you mean, Gigi? Naruto asked. The Sandaime just motioned to somewhere behind Naruto again. As Naruto turned around he saw two figures in the background looking at him with smiles. Figures were his parents, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. He hugged both of them. Minato smiled and hugged his son. I'm glad to see you, Naruto. You too, San. I missed you so much, my Sochi, Kushina said, getting into the hug. I know, Ka-san, Naruto said, crying into their arms. We are proud of what you have become, Naruto. You are what we expected you to be and much more. Yes, son, I'm proud to be called your father. Naruto turned around and looked at the people in front of him. He doesn't know when he will see them again, so he wanted to something before he spoke. Kushina interrupted. This isn't goodbye, Naruto, she started lovingly. Just to see you later. She went up to him and hugged him. I hope you live a better life now. I agree with your mother, Minato stated. He then produced a scroll from behind him. Here, take this. It contains all of my notes on everything about Fuinjutsu and our personal justice. Naruto nodded and put it in his pocket. Minato then stuck out his hand and smirked at Naruto. Naruto took it and shook his hand. See you soon, San, Ka-san. With that they both disappeared with smiles on their faces. Naruto looked at his last two people, Jiraiya and Sandaime. I want to thank you for everything. Naruto was crying because of all of that just occurred. I should have thanked to you, Naruto, Sarutobi said. If it were not for you, many a times Konoha would have fallen. To repay you back I give you this. A scroll materialized in his hand. It contains all the justice I have learned over time and some from first and second Hokage. Just don't overexert yourself when training. Naruto nodded and hugged him one last time before he too walked off and disappeared. Well, Gaki, Jiraiya started as he came up to Naruto. I have nothing to give you. You basically took over for me when you trained. I however will give you this, two things puffed into existence. The first being a little blue book and the other being a scroll saying Icha Icha. It's my life's work. I hope you find it very pleasurable, he said, letting out a perverse giggle. Okay, Ero Sennin, I'll read it. I think I might republish it too just so I can earn some extra cash. At this Jiraiya let out another perverse giggle. Oh, so you mean you're going to continue my research? Jiraiya asked, wiggling his eyebrows. Naruto resisted the urge to shudder at the actions of his godfather. This in turn had Jiraiya prancing around the field like a little schoolgirl. When he finally composed himself, he put a hand on Naruto's shoulder and then hugged him. You did great, Naruto. Now go live your new life. With one last smile, Jiraiya disappeared. Time's up, Gaki, Shinigami-sama started. There are some gifts for you from me. With that he touched on his left shoulder and gave him Raven summoning tattoo, also summoned black katana from nowhere gave to him. Ichigo Bankai. Those are my personal Raven summoning contracts because Toad's summoning contract was now void for you, and this katana is blessed by death. Use wisely my gifts, child. How I supposed to get out this void? Ask to your new tenant, said Shinigami-sama, then he vanished from sight. Mindscape. Naruto found himself in his mindscape, but this time his mindscape was nothing looks like sewer. It looked like an endless sky where many islands was floating, like fairy tale Daedalus. When he turned back he found himself in front of big sleeping black dragon. Dragon whose entire upper body was covered in black, round scales, which were decorated by spiraling, blue markings. Its lower body, specifically its belly, inner tail and legs was gray in color. It seems to be rather smooth. It was possesses a blunt, rounded head with 4 large and elongated plates which was extending backwards. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth, and below it was an elongated protrusion pointing downwards. It was gargantuan. Multi-layered wings was composed of the very same plates covering its whole body, which took on a formation reminiscent of a bird's feathers. Its massive tail was splits in 2 at its end, where the black plates were disappear and took on a double stinger-like appearance. His eyes looked like mixture between Sharingan and Rinnegan, which had 4 Rinnegan-like concentric circles, with 9 Sharingan-like Tomo in the 3 circles closest to the pupil colored red. It looked more feral and powerful than Kurama. Finally, we meet young hatchlings, said Dragon. Who are you? Where is 10 Tails? Naruto asked. 10 Tails was my corrupt form. Because of you I got my original form. I am Ryujin, Dragon God. Because of your last stunt we both bound by soul. We both are now one soul. From now I am your advisor. You are my successor, so I shall teach you all that I know. You will learn to honor my power, and all responsibility that comes with that tittle. Then water appeared nowhere from air, and look at your reflection in water. What happened to me? He had spiky blonde hair with some black tip. Color of his left eye was oceanic blue while right eye was blood red. He also had diamond mark on his forehead similar to Tsunade. There was no whisker marks in his face and he looked like his 4 years younger self. These because of me. Now you are no longer human, you are dragon demon. This is your first step of evolution. There will be more in future. This also gives you special powers and comes dragon traits like you have now super speed, super strength, flight, enhanced sense and dragon skin which hard to penetrate. Also channel some chakra in your eyes. Sharingan, how? Because you absorbed Tobi and Madara, so you got their some traits also you will also get their personalities and all powers in future. What? Shall I become power hungry and evil like them? No, you will become something different because all us. What's now? Now, I shall train you control your power. Until you will cannot be defected by anyone. Then we used our power open dimension rift to enter new dimension. Also I warn you that in void times flow slower than other. Bring it. I shall become most powerful person in world. I become gooddddhaahahahah. In horror. See I become power hungry like them. In panic. What I do now? Shut up idate. Flashback ends. Naruto Pav. It was really 6 months I came to this dimension. It was too easy to create new identity and learn new language with the help of Sharingan. Now what I learned, this place is called Earth. One thing is sure, Earth has more advanced technology than Element Nation. I am currently in one of the biggest countries named USA, short for the United States of America. There are some people here with some special power. They called them heroes and they protect their lands and homes with skills. Some of them used taijutsu and modern technology while others used bloodline limits like Element Nation. I decided to get some information about them. Apparently the most well-known and famous heroes of this world are 2 characters, although if you ask me they are the complete opposite of each other. The first is this Superman. His choice of clothes really sucked. He wears what seems like red boots, with red pants, blue shirt with a giant S on his chest with a red cape. He also wears what appeared to be a pair of boxers over his pants. All of them look skin tight and he is very muscular. His strength is still in question, seeing how he is able to lift objects that should be beyond his ability to lift. I don't know the exact extent of his power, but it certainly impressed me. The second can be considered the opposite to Superman. He called himself Batman. He was dark and mysterious. He was dressed in something like a bat costume of gray, dark blue and black. His bat-like mask covered the upper half of his face. His gray dark blue pants and armor remind me of Enbu's standard clothing, and his belt, which was yellow and had many pockets. His cape offers great camouflage in the dark, and his appearance can intimidate a normal person. This hero was normal and used high-tech devices to compensate for his lack of special power. From what I heard, he is a good fighter and solves criminal cases that most consider impossible to solve. So he is also very smart. These two work in different cities. One watch over the skies of Metropolis while the other guards from the darkness of Gotham City. Still thinking about them? Hatchling, interrupted dark voice of my head. Yes, I responded with a straight thought. Curious? Perhaps, you want to be like them, hero. I think about it, but I don't want to wear tight suit. These remind me of Made a Guy. Yes, it's sweet drop. My chain of thoughts was cut off when I heard and saw the image of a man flying above my head. Indeed, it was Superman himself, who was flying above my head and headed towards a different section of the forest. Think we should check it out. I mean, trouble is always following this guy. Also, this will help me with my boredom. There's nothing else to do. Also, it could be good training. I had enough training with my clones and I have nothing to do. Don't let your guard down. I have a feeling that things are get a lot more interesting for us. If that's the case, then we can't miss the party. I smirked. If something is going to happen, then I'm not going to miss it. I stayed on the sidelines for too long and I am bored, and my new dragon blood wants adventure. Lets this world know power of Ryujin, dragon god. With his mind made up, his eyes flashes red and he sank himself underground. Batman makes his trip to the outskirts of Metropolis for spying on a satellite communications facility operated by Wayne Tech. Then he saw 3 employees of the facility exchange amiable goodbyes with their coworkers, but as soon as they were alone, begin conversing in an alien language and tampering with the equipment. Batman appeared and attempts to subdue them, but each of them was fight back with amazing speed and strength. Batman cornered one of them on top of the roof dish, but it was turned the tables on him. Then Superman arrived and sends them running. Before they will deal with them, Superman starts screaming and holds his head in pain, then become unconscious. Batman grabs him before the 3 mysterious scientists detonate the satellite. When Batman saw the 3 scientists, their bodies were twisted into such positions that should be fatal to normal human, but they were still alive. They fled into the forest. Batman explained that this station was the latest in a series that had been sending strange encrypted signals into space. Superman offered his help, but Batman declines it. Superman handed him a communicator to use in case he will needs his help. Batman was first doubtful, but he placed it in his utility belt. If they really kept attention to their surrounding, they were seeing Raven flies away from distance. From distance in wood, Naruto rose from ground, like Toby, and Raven landed on his left shoulder. Now that interesting, what do you think? Those things are not human. Try to follow them. Okay. Thank you, Karasu-chan, you may go now. No problem, Master, Raven spoke using telepathy. Then she vanished. He couldn't help but think about first meeting with his Raven boss summon. Flashback starts. Time to try summoning, thought Naruto. Naruto made hand signs, slammed his hands on ground. Summoning jutsu. A huge black bird appeared in mid-air from shadow. He saw a large black bird size of Toad Boss. The black bird, however, was clearly not look like a normal forest raven of any kind to him. Though its eyes gave off a brilliant red glow, its body and wings covered in numerous bone-like plates with reddish-gray marking, and it had 3 legs, with the middle leg holding onto a strange sphere being the strangest part of the creature. The black bird glared down at him. Who dare summons the raven boss Yatagarasu? It blinked and seemed to recollect itself. Well, that's a stupid question. It turned its gaze on Naruto. Naruto, I presume. Naruto stared up at the boss summon. You know me? Yatagarasu shrugged. Shinigami-sama told me about you, he said. It is honor to work with you, child of prophecy. You have our permission to summon any raven in battle, but now first. Yatagarasu gave Naruto his feather, channel your chakra into it. Naruto channeled his chakra into feather. It formed small black sphere which later transformed in small red eyes raven and who landed on Naruto's shoulder. Give her name, she is your personal partner. She has telepathy, teleportation, so many powers which you will know in future. She will great help you in your battle. Take care of her young dragon. Thank you Yatagarasu-sama, you are welcome. After he disappeared with cloud of smoke, he looked at Red Eyes Raven and said with smile, your name is Karasu. Flashback ends. Penny your thought hatchling and follow them, said Dragon. Sorry, Naruto said. Turning around quickly, he followed monster scientists. After a few minutes he found them but decided to stay hidden and for some time. Sorry, but this is dead end, spoke Naruto in calm and cold voice. Out of our way, the woman said, clearly not interested. That aren't happening, Batman is forgiving, but I am not. I want answers to my question. You are just wasting our time, and your life. This time, it was the old man spoke with lifeless voice like woman. Oh, I don't think. Naruto spoke cold tone, he wasn't bothered by their lack of reaction. This is your last warning, leave or die. Chinese looking one of the group spoke. I will leave as soon as one of you tells me who are you and why you just blew that facility up, replied Naruto. That is none of your concern, and since you didn't leave yet, you have just forfeited your life, spoke the old man again this time. The other two were putting some distance between them and preparing for attack. Then the three attacked, the old man went for right hook while the women prepared give him an upper kick while the Chinese went for a kick from the ground. Acting quickly, Naruto dodged punch that was coming at him and used his left fist to hit the old man in the stomach that sent him backwards, knocking his younger male partner down with him. However, he saw that woman was coming right at him. With his quick reflexes that he was able to dodge that attack, but it left a small crater where he was previously stand. The woman went on rampage with fists and putting him on defense. Naruto quickly went on offense and gave the woman punch her face and sent her skidding across wood. Pathetic, but his thoughts were knocked out of him when an arm suddenly stabbed through his chest. He turned his head to see more of these creatures arrived. Go to city, I'll stay here and cover you, a tall Russian replied. The scientists nodded and they ran other direction. Several more people joined Russians like couple of black, Hispanic and Australian looking figures. Suddenly Naruto disappeared into a murder of crows. What? The aliens shocked when something shot out and stuck itself on the ground in front of them. Looked it down, they saw a kunai stuck on the ground. On closer inspection they noticed that the kunai had a small piece of paper dangling on it, and even worse, the piece of paper was on fire. Before they could even step back, the kunai exploded, sending the creatures toward trees and ground, and some sort of white goo was formed. Looking back at his work, the young dragon proceeded to wrap him and then vanished from sight. In pocket dimension, Naruto entered the pocket dimension that existed parallel next to his own. Just like Tobi, he could enter it, but his dimension was slightly different. Where Toba's dimension held a set of platforms atop square vertically elongated blocks, his dimension is like his endless sky where islands are floating. There also one big Japanese-style mansion located on one of Big Island, which he was able to build with his Mokuton Jutsu. Whole mansion was powered by natural chakra. In this mansion, he had the armor of the Hashirama and Tobirama on a display stand, as well as Hiruzen's adamantine staff and helmet, and his father's coat and other weapons and items he got from his travels in Ninja World and Earth, as well as displays like crystal, armor, swords, shields. He had large library which contained book on different type of martial art, literature, etc. Ningen Tai Jutsu scroll, medical jutsu scroll, etc. Also some jutsu which got from Madara and Toba's memory. This mansion was also had own personal medical room, training ground, etc. This was first part of dimension which he used for personal use. This part had endless blue sky, but other part was exact opposite which contained endless darkness. This part was made for prisoner because it produced endless illusion naturally to confused prisoner. Those two parts was separated by powerful space-time jutsu. This dimension was his and Dragon greatest creation. That felt good, didn't it? Asked Dragon, its voice filled with amusement. You mean fighting with some weird creatures, poking my nose in someone else's business, Exchanging hits? Answered Naruto with a blank face. Yeah, said Dragon, its tone never changing. Yes, replied the blonde with an evil smile on his face and said, I enjoyed every second of it. I can see that you're not going to give up. At first I just thought that I could ignore this because I couldn't get even a decent fight out of it, but now I've realized something, replied the boy with a smirk on his face. What's that? Asked his tenant. I just realized that Batman and Superman are basically magnets for danger and trouble, and most of their enemies are pretty strong. If that's the case, then maybe sticking with them, I'll meet even stronger opponents. The smirk never left his face. I knew you'd think like this, though I'm not surprised that you would want to fight stronger opponents. It's in your dragon blood, said Dragon with its smirk and cut their link. Time for a field trip to Metropolis, said the blonde with a smirk, then he used Jikukan Ito wraps himself and vanished. In Metropolis. Few months later, Naruto was walking on street in his civilian clothes. He wore a pair of loose blue jeans with a simple black t-shirt, a pair of black fingerless gloves with metal plates on the backs, a pair of black combat boots, and a black bucket hat to cover his hair and his eyes, which was now blue. He discovered that Superman agreed with some political figure, Carter, to disable weapons of mass destruction to obtain lasting peace, and agreed to watch over Earth. What a stupid idea. What happens when you want more than one place at same time? He is too confident in his ability. No one can protect whole planet at same time, replied Dragon. Then he saw the interview of superhero that got his interest. His name was the Flash. I'm the fastest man alive, but I can't two places at same time, Naruto heard the Flash say on TV. He's got a point. After alien incidences, 6 months later. Nothing happened in last 6 months. Naruto thought his thought quickly interrupted when he saw a person on the roof. Focusing his eyes, Naruto clearly saw that it was Batman. Time for spying, thought Naruto with a smirk on face. He vanished. Meanwhile, Batman was sneaking in the plant when he noticed 2 of the 3 scientists that he had confronted 6 months back. They were talking in a strange language. They left the building after one last glance at place. He took this opportunity and decided to look around. Looking in the office they left, he found 3 cocoons with people inside, who looked extremely similar to the ones that had just left. Taking one of his bat ring, he sliced one of the cocoons to free Man. Man fall on his shoulder. Putting him down, he checked his pulse and found that he was still alive. Grr! The growl of a dog suddenly broke the silence. Turning around, Batman found in front of dog, whose fangs was bared and ready to rip him in pieces. Naruto appeared on roof. He found Batman, who was fighting with alien dog. It looks like those creature that I fought in the wood. His chain of thoughts was suddenly interrupted when he saw Batman being pushed through a window and hitting on shelf, causing it falls on him. Also saw that creature getting closer to hero. Naruto decided jump down between Batman and dog. Sorry, but I'm afraid I have to put you in deep sleep, Amaterasu, said Naruto with Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan active, Madara Sharingan. Said dog tried to jump on him, but it soon found itself consumed by black flame. Soon dog just turned into ash. Turning around quickly, he lifted shelf over Batman and checked his pulse. Then relieved when he saw that the Dark Knight was bruised and unconscious. He used some medical jutsu to treat injured hero. He noticed the watch on the floor. Looking over the object for a few seconds and then pressed button on it, the watch suddenly started to beep. I better hide, then he sank into floor with help of Jikukan Ito. It didn't take long and Superman was already at a door. He saw Batman. Oh no, Batman, Superman thought. But his thought interrupted when a bright light suddenly filled in the room. The light itself was from a meteor that suddenly hit Metropolis Park. Superman took disguise with Batman in his hands while Naruto just teleport there. In Metropolis, what shocked everyone that from the meteor 3 legs came out and an organic-looking 6-floor walker suddenly erupted. What kind of creature is this? Thought Naruto. The creature or robot suddenly started to attack, with a laser cannon and destroying a few police cars easily. Superman tried to attack its main cannon when it suddenly fired and hitting him with a lot of force that pushed him through a building to street. Naruto watched the police's efforts to destroy Walker with standard weapon, but Walker turned its attention to police. Naruto decided that was the time to intervene, jumping down between the Walker and the people. Get out of all of you. Your weapons are useless here. The police quickly agreed after seeing that it was no use, which was good decision because Walker proceeded to destroy remaining cars. Naruto was able to make him intangible to attack phase through him. At same time he saw Batman use his grappling hook to reach his jet. Missiles were fired from jet. It doesn't work but they did manage to get its attention. Superman used this distraction to knocking down it. Before he tried anything, Walker shot him again sending him through the wall again. The wall couldn't take much damage. It collapsed and burying Hero in the rubble. Naruto looked at damage and noticed that the wall was slowly being lifted up, followed by Superman holding his head as though in pain. After a few seconds of blanking out, he started to fly away from the battle. "Where's he going?" asked Naruto, no time to think that now. He summoned his chakra chains, black chains with sharp tip. They came out from his hand and tied down Robot. Then he used his retoned chakra and super strength to destroy it. Then again other two came out of the meteor. Damn it, if I go after them. They will kill a lot of people if I spend too much time to fighting them. Also I don't know anything about them. It would be best to perform population control for now. He thought. Soon the city was filled with Naruto clones all bringing people to safety and effectively saving a lot of lives. After 2 hours, at last they stopped. Sighed the Naruto looking back at all the people that he had gathered away from city. Most of them were families. They were shaking and worried. "Alright everyone stay here, I have to go," he said loud enough for the others to hear. The people just nodded, being grateful to new hero. Naruto concentrated to found Superman energy and vanished with flock of crows to shocking many people. Somewhere in mountains, at a hidden military base, Naruto found Superman energy signature in a nearly destroyed military base. Looking at the Batjet he concluded, right place and they here, but why? Naruto continued making his toward heroes where he saw over dozen soldiers appeared with strange weapons. Best choice is hiding for now, and so he did, he sank underground. Shortly after that, Superman and Batman appeared with green-skinned person. After watching Superman's fruitless attempts with the soldiers, he watched in shock when all soldiers transformed into white aliens. "I guess it's time to world know my presence," he said with a smirk as he watched all aliens approach the heroes. "It's them," said the green man. Naruto got a good look at him. He saw that alien had very inhuman features like green skin with no body hair. His eyes were orange and he didn't have any eyebrows and his eyes were surrounded by black mascara. His face was stretched at the top of the head and his chin was long. He was dressed in a purple cape and purple underpants. 2 long ribbons covered his chest. Below his abs he had a red belt with a yellow belt buckle. He didn't wear any pants but his feet were in a pair of purple boots that matched his cape. Seriously, what is with these heroes and their style of clothing, he thought. Your fashion sense was worse than them. You wore kill me orange all your life because of me, now you have now proper fashion sense. Whatever. The aliens started to fire at the heroes but Superman got in the way but the impact pushed him back to a tank. In the smoke, Batman pulled person behind a van. An alien managed to get behind Batman but the blue person simply went through Batman and managed to channel some form of energy that deflected the laser. In a quick reflex Batman took out a battering and threw it at the alien knocking it out, while the alien that protected Batman seemed hurt. That's just like my Jikukan Ito, space-time migration, thought Naruto. Interesting, it is different than your version. Your jutsu is depending upon space-time manipulation where you immune all attack but his version depend upon another principle. You can harm him with your retoned jutsu or any electrical attack, said Dragon. How did you know this? When you are more than 1,000 years old you pick much information. Okay. Guess he's on our side. Time to test our new attack, thought the blonde prompting his arm and summon Black Sphere. While that was happening Superman managed to pull himself up and he lifted tank above his head to deflect lasers, which were coming his way. He about threw it toward aliens when Shadow Hand was heard throughout the area, then Black Color Hand appeared from nowhere, like 9-tailed Chakra Hand, and destroyed several aliens. Then Naruto appeared on the roof, opposite side of Batman and Superman. No time to explain, Naruto said cutting them off when several spaceships appeared in the air. Multiple shadow hands. Then he summoned multiple black color hands to destroy ships. At this time Batman was maneuvering through the peaks of the mountains and managed to take some alien ship down while Superman threw one of the ships toward mountain. Finally one of the ships able to hit Batjet and it was going crash. "Oh shit," Blonde said as he prepared fly and catch the ship but stunned when it suddenly stopped in midair with radiating a greening glow. He followed beam and saw person who was standing on one of the mountains. Two ships tried to attack him but the ships were quickly destroyed by another character. This one was a woman with gray wings and a mace in her hands. He recognized them, heroes among the many super beings he was studying of this dimension. "Well, this is interesting," he thought as he teleported to the cliff. He was ready to unleash his powerful futon jutsu on ships, then again it will too distractive, and also it was his only chance to observe these so-called heroes. "This just keeps getting interesting," thought Dragon. "Yes," replied Naruto. As he teleported the bat's position, two ships closed them. Acting quickly, Naruto gathered wind chakra around him and screamed, "Wind release! Great breakthrough!" and sent concentrated ball of wind chakra to front of the ships. "Then blow all ships toward the mountains." "Thanks," said the hero impressed, yet managing to hide it. From the cliff, Naruto and Batman watched the rest of the heroes take out the remaining ships. He saw Hawkgirl falling and nearly hit by one of the ships when another woman with long black hair appeared and deflected lasers but neglected to fly out of the way of the falling ship's trajectory. Luckily the green glowing person managed to create a dome around the young women that protected them from the blast. "Who's those rookies?" asked the glowing green person. He was dark-collared person with short black hair shaved on the sides with a strong muscular build, glowing green eyes. His clothing looked like a full body suit of green, black and white. The top of his suit was green emerald color in a V-form going from the back to front covering his neck, shoulders, and upper half of his upper body in green while the rest was black with the exception of his boots and gauntlets that he wore was green. Also his chest have green lantern-like patch and a white circle. His weapon of choice was apparently a green ring that helped him channel a green energy field in any shape he desires. "I'm not sure," responded Superman. "Hey Bats, I think you drooped this." "Whoa. Where have you been all my life?" asked the dazed Flash seeing the black-haired beauty for the first time. Naruto recognized him as being the hero he saw him on TV a few weeks back. He was dressed in a red full-body suit that reminded him of Lee and Guy except that he had a hood that covered top of his head with white see-through material for eyes and two lightning-like ornaments on the sides where his ears should be. The suit was apparently very flexible. It was blood red with a diagram of a lightning going through a white circle with a yellow outline and lightning pattern on his arms just below the elbow. He wore what seemed to be a lightning-styled belt around his lower abdomen in golden light. "The Mischira," answered the woman completely oblivious to Flash's attempts. "Huh?" answered Flash. "The home of the Amazons, I always thought that was legend." His answer came from the second woman. She wore a bird-like mask. Reddish-brown hair that reached the middle of her back, light red lips, black eyes, two brown-grayish wings. She was dressed in a yellow top that seemed to hold on her impressive C-cup to the waist. She wore a pair of black tight pants that covered her lower half and a pair of super short pants that covered her slender ass and lower midsection. Her feet were fit in a pair of red boots. In her hand she held the same mace with leather strap. "I assure you it is real as the ground we stand on. I am Diana, Princess of the Amazons." She presented herself with a smile and pride in her voice. "All female superheroes are this hot? And that's the case from today I am hero. Also I really want to go that place if all Amazon are that." Naruto thought. "All men forbid in that place," said Dragon. "You are well informed," asked Blonde. "There's one thing I want to ask you." "What?" "Why all heroes wear underwear on the outside?" "Maybe they," thought Dragon and trying to think of an answer to this mystery. "Yeah, maybe that's a standard uniform of hero," thought Naruto with widened eyes. "You know, that sort of makes sense." Replay Dragon. "Think that I should get something like that?" "You know," thought the confused ninja with a thoughtful expression but cuts off by Dragon. "If I catch you wearing something like that, I am going to teach you the true meaning of pain," roared Dragon in a mix of emotions, from imagining Naruto with shorts on the outside and dressed in bright skin-tight jumpsuit. "What?" Naruto asked with questioning look. He realized that everyone was looking at him. "We were waiting for you to introduce yourself. The rest of us know each other in some way but you are new here." The alien answered, looking at Naruto. Naruto was tall, almost as tall Batman with athletic build. He had golden spiky hair with black tip that covered some of his face. His left eye was oceanic blue while right eye was blood red. The cloth he wore black and gray armor, metal arm guards and gloves, black boots with spikes for traveling into mountainous regions, 3 ninja pouches on that back waist and raven tattoo on his left shoulder. Also he wears half black mask on right side of his face. Told them your name is Ryujin. Called me Ryujin, or in short Ryu. Naruto answer with extended hand with a slight smirk on his face. His eye flashes red with 3 tomo spinning rapidly for brief seconds. John Jones, said Green Alien, taking his offered hand and giving him a good shake. Superman, extending his hand, Superman. The name's is Flash, next hero said. Green Lantern, of the Lantern Corps, said the next one, just giving Naruto a stare that said, I'm not impressed. Hawk Girl, said the first girl of the group with a tone that said she wasn't going to babysit to new guys. I've already introduced myself, but I am Diana. Princess said with a smile. It's a pleasure to meet you, Princess, responded the blonde, giving nod and a smile. The last member of the group finally spoke. Batman, mind telling us how you got on that military base? Asked the Dark Knight straight to the point. Naruto smirked and started. Well, it all started 6 months ago. I was in the city when I saw Superman fly above me. Thinking that it was an emergency, I decided to follow him. He reached the base that you were on and I watched the events unravel. I was hidden, that why no one saw me. Batman was interested by this but didn't show it. Superman's eyes widened, remembering the events and being surprised that he doesn't saw him. Well, then after 6 months today when meteor hit city and I went to check it out. While you and Superman were fighting it, I was evacuating civilians and I pushed the police back to give you and that walker some space. Then you just blanked out and shot away, so I just follow you, Naruto said, half-truth. How did you able to follow us? That's my secret, and besides, I don't trust all of you, yet. Batman doesn't say anything, but he doesn't trust Blonde because he knows Blonde was hiding something. He will keep eyes on Blonde. John Jones was telling everyone about this aliens and his past, about how he ended upon Earth and the genocide of his people from White Martians' attack. Everyone was listening intently. Hold it, if they were that bad, then why no one else knows about it? The government should have done something to prepare, right? Flash spoke. Lantern snorted and replied. Probably some high officer in Washington decided to have it classified. Naruto replied. I don't think so. Batman turned and spoke. What do you mean? Naruto looked at the other heroes and replied. He had been working with Dragon to put all pieces together. Think this first, those astronauts on Mars discovers biggest threat to the world had ever seen, and they did not bother to report it when they had a chance? No, I think the reason no one knew about this because when they awakened, the aliens already made their move. An army of invaders intent on conquering a world would never reveal themselves accidentally to anyone until they had the right moment. Jean, you said that aliens managed to take your people's shapeshifter ability after they invaded your world of Mars, right? Jean nodded. Then they have shapeshifter ability now to take any form they want. Then it's safe to assume that what happened to the group on Mars is the same. Their infiltration team came here and started doing what they could to weaken Earth's defenses. Those stations owned by Wayne Tech were naturally the first to avoid early detection, and then Superman quickly understood it. The nukes, the same ones I decommissioned by Carter's requests. Naruto nodded. Exactly, Carter never came back to Earth. No doubt he is either being held in a pod like those scientists or already dead. The one we all saw on TV is no doubt his imposer. He used you to disarm nuclear weapons to strip away any means of defenses, and leave Earth open to attack by the rest of force. I've seen tactics like that before. They rendered Earth deaf, dumb, and blind first, and they destroyed the nukes so the militaries don't have anything to give them a fighting chance. Green Lantern growled. The implications of the aliens' attack hit them hard, and the hardest hit to Superman as he realized that he had rendered Earth powerless. Before anything else could be discussed, the conversation was cut short by a crack of lightning that came from a storm. What is that? Asked Diana, shock in her voice. It's begun, Jean stated, clearly knowing what was happening. What are they doing? Asked Hawkgirl. The invaders are nocturnal. They want to block out the sun to live in perpetual darkness. With no emotion was in his voice, Jean answered. Friends of yours? Flash joked, looking at Batman and Naruto. Unfortunately, we barely know each other. What's the big problem? Can't you make another batch of that nerve gas? Asked Flash hopefully. Unfortunately no, the gas can only be made from a rare Martian plant. I brought a sample with me but it was destroyed when I was captured, answered the blue alien with the same monotone voice. It wouldn't have good idea, said the blonde, catching everyone's attention. The gas could have dissipated in the atmosphere and we don't know what effects it could have on human or the environment, concluded the blonde. Then we'll have to take out those factories, said Diana in conclusive tone and broke silence. Lady, this is no job for rookies, responded Green Lantern, eyeing Naruto and Diana. We Amazons are warriors born. Want to test me? The princess replied, who was now in a staring match with Green Lantern. Everyone was looking at Naruto expecting outburst, but they does not expect him to reading orange book. He lifted his head from the orange book as he eyed heroes who were currently eyeing at him. Did you say something? Naruto asked. Green Lantern, whose eyes were now twitching with annoyance. You really wanted to pull Kakashi, right? Asked Dragon in amusement. Yes, replied Blonde with slight smirk. Right, so let's not fight among ourselves, said the Superman, breaking the silence and placing his hand on GL's shoulder. John, we'll need all the help we can get. Fine, sorry your highness, responded GL, voicing his displeasure, hissing the last part out. Tactically we'll have multiple objectives, so we'll have to split up in teams. I get dibs on the Amazon, Flash said with a smile and a hand over Diana's shoulders, making her face wide with shock and annoyance. But you better made team base on our skills, said Blonde in cold tone. All looked at Blonde, whose Sharingan was now active, and Lantern sometimes experience warriors also die in battle. This time Vice come from his right ears, with hands of rookies because their arrogance. They could saw second Naruto stand beside Lantern, whose kunai was on Lantern neck, then he was disappeared with flock of crows to shocking everyone. Scary, though. Flash. Near Tokyo, Japan. Well, there is one of those machines. According John, there are only way destroyed that machine from within inside, so we have to find a way to go inside. Naruto said while watches target, there are no openings. Diana sighed. Then I will make one. The princess of the Amazons was ready to fly, but Naruto stopped her. I have better plan, hold on, he added quickly after holding her shoulder. What are you? Naruto did not give her time to finish her question because he wrapped both of them. Doing? When she finishes the question, she was blink because they were no longer in hiding spot. How did you do that? Diana questioned, noting that they were inside that strange machine. Teleportation, concisely explained. You could do that. Why not bring us that way before? Amazon asked, somewhat puzzled and somewhat upset. After all, we're hours away from Metropolis to Tokyo, Japan. The only way I can teleport myself when I know exact location spot. Naruto said. She nodded. Because I want to keep this technique secret now, because if alien have Martian shape-shifting ability. There is also assuming that they also have their mind-reading ability. I can shield my mind, but I don't know about other. That why held my most of ability in battle. By the way, thank you. Diana said. Why? Naruto questioned. It was thanks to you that we come to this factory without the other. The Lantern and Batman idea was to come with us because we are new, she added with some discomfort the last word. Actually, it bothers me that I regard as a warrior. I have little experience. I have trained hard with the other Amazons and say I am inexperienced because I have never seen it in action. It irritates me. It was calmer. No problem, Haim. He spoke relaxed tone. I have the same problem. The last 1 year locked in complete anonymity, and it is natural that I'm not well-known person. Only now I was forced to reveal because you can't save world alone. She nodded, but soon noticed something. Haim? Questioned doubtful. It means princess in my native language. Here Japanese call it. Naruto said. They could not really enjoy the moment, because as soon as they advanced, enemy fire took place. Diana jumped in front, blocking the attack with her bracelets. Seeing that they had advantage, the three aliens fled, one of them dodging awkwardly away a ray of light that had leaked during the previous attack of Diana. They run like cowards. What are you waiting for? Go. Diana said in full flame of battle. Truly you have an attitude. He said softly after her, but not before watching the sky partially cleared. The smoke machine had not completed its work, and he was discovered some important detail to mention to others. Somewhere in Malaysia, Meanwhile, Flash and Green Lantern were encountering heavy resistance in a jungle, mainly because Flash acted harshly and was stuck in a sticky residue from a factory. Now they were under attack by the walkers. After successfully freeing Flash and giving him a lecture, John found himself attacked by the walkers, who fired a gas bomb at him that managed to get through his defense. The gas itself was affecting his breathing and knocked him out. Flash thought quickly and dissipated gas. He took John over his shoulder and ran away. In Metropolis, Superman and Hawkgirl successfully managed to disable the walkers and entered the factory. Encountering resistance, the winged heroine brashly attacked them, making short work for aliens. They ascend to the core factory, all was going as planned until they were trapped in a gas chamber with a powerful knockout gas jetting from the walls that successfully managed to render them unconscious. Egypt. Jean suddenly appeared from the ground and reported, "I have scouted the outer wall, there is no way in." "Then we'll make our own," said Batman. "How?" He used Bat Jet remote to target one of the walker's leg by missile, making it lose its balance and fall on the wall of the facility, breaking it and making an entrance. "There is our opening." "Not bad," Jean said as they proceeded to go in. They immediately encountered resistance, but they soon retreated without a fight. They found themselves in factory. Jean's eyes glowed yellow for a couple of seconds. Superman and Hawkgirl are down. "They have failed," he said, his eyes returning to their orange color. "What, are you certain?" asked Batman. His response was a silent nod. "Are they still alive?" "They are alive, but they have been captured." Tokyo, Japan. Continued advance through the various doors until they finally met another squadron of aliens. Diana again stepped forward as for defense, but this time, Naruto decided not to act passive. He started running toward them and used Shadow Hand to destroy aliens. It was a short-lived victory, because immediately the same place where they had come another squadron appeared. "Too many," Diana complained. Naruto was come beside her, every time they opened a door always revealing more aliens who were shooting at them. Finally she found a high place. "Over there." He does quick teleportation and performs strange hand signs. Kaden. Enden Karyu, then breathe fire and spraying on his many opponents. "How did you do that?" Diana asked in amazement. "It is one of my powers." Naruto said. They continue flying toward the doors. Naruto and Diana flew toward central area. "That must be the glass." Jean talking. Diana pointed to the object that was floating in kind of orange cover, and of course, the whole area was full of enemies, each focused on their own work. "By destroying it, stop the machine." "Well, I will do more than just stop it." Naruto smiled. He used illusion on all enemies to scatter them. Then he pasted some papers, both inside and outside of object. "What are those things?" asked Diana. "Stamps or tag. And all I say explode explosive tag." Naruto performed a hand gesture which caused all those papers began to shine. In 10 seconds. "Hold on." He added quickly, hold her shoulder and teleported them outside of machine. The sound of several explosions was caught both of their attention. The strange alien machine was detonated by internal explosions. Amazon itself did not expect such destruction. "Wow, what did you put there?" Diana questioned again. "Where I come from we called them explosive tag. It comes from a technique called fuinjutsu," explained again. "Now, I think we have enough." That whole machine was now destroyed. "We must be returned to the meeting, Jean is calling." They flew toward Metropolis. In Metropolis City was made a sudden invasion chaos. The thefts were in plain sight and without fear. Naruto and Diana were witnesses. "Maybe my mother was right about men are just wild." Diana commented disapprovingly, noting that view. "Do not judge too lightly, they act out of fear," said the blue-skinned alien who was rose from ground. Green Lantern and Flash finally appeared from a turning towards their way. "Wait, where are Batman, Superman and Hawkgirl?" Diana questioned. "Hawkgirl and Superman are hostage right there." The Martian pointed to the factory smoke in Metropolis. "Unfortunately, Batman," the Martian looked down, "there was no easy way to say this. Is dead. He fights like a hero." Naruto looked confused and Diana was really sad. Death of hero. "The Bat died?" questioned in a tone of horror, Flash. "This is wrong, very wrong. And it will get worse. The Imperium is on the way," Jean warned. "What is the Imperium?" Flash questioned. "It is the higher intelligence that controls all invaders, and we know it," he added mysteriously. We must hurry and save both of them. We needs all help if we want to defeat Imperium. Well, then begin attack, said Green Lantern. Flash, you will distract. Diana, Ryujin, you will cover me back. Do you rely on rookies? Diana recalled sarcastically. Yeah, I mean, some rookies are just reckless, said Naruto with the same sarcasm. The remaining heroes formed a plan. They were going to break into the facility and free Superman and Hawkgirl. Their entrance was faced with little resistance. Occasional teams of 2 guards were their way, but that was easily dispatched. They finally reached their comrades' holding cell. They meet with Superman and Hawkgirl. Great Hera, said Diana. Wait, something's not right. Martian replied, but the warning was too late. Hawkgirl and Superman both eyes were opened, revealing a bright red in contrast to the usual. All the heroes took a step backward. It's a trap. Green Lantern cry as they watched the entrance they had come was now closed. Next thing was that gas began to emerge from the walls, causing all began to cough severity. Lantern, use your ring. Jean cries, coughing forcefully. No, I can focus my mind. GL responded by dropping to the ground. Ryujin, use your teleportation. Diana said to Blonde, and that was the key word, try. The last thing he saw that Superman and Hawkgirl changed back to their true form, white aliens. Ryujin, Ryujin. The blonde opened his eyes, noting his position. Ryujin, are you all right? Diana was standing beside him. In fact, people were prisoners together in a strange prison of a viscous material. None of them could be released. I feel like Gamabunta had used my body as a springboard. Blonde complained of his aching muscles. Haim, are you okay? Finally asked with concern, but soon noticed that some were already awake. Superman, Jean, Lantern. You should not have comes here. The Man of Steel complained. You will do the same thing for me. Jean SSID. My head hurts. Flash complained. Surprisingly, front of them, on a raised platform, was one of those aliens. The strongest heroes of the Earth, it spoke with a sense of superiority. It changed shape to another quite familiar to all the heroes, or at least most. Welcome, Senator Carter, claimed Superman. Unfortunately, the real Carter was never returned from the Mars. He talked about how satisfied a spy. We know, you used me to weaken defenses of the Earth. Claimed Kryptonian again. You were so eager to cooperate. Thanks to you, humans are completely defenseless against us. Satisfied smile from his face said that they already won the war against the heroes. This is not over, cried Superman. You turned to be wrong, Superman. It is over, Carter countered while the roof of the factory opened for ship. This ship was different than usually used by other aliens, in fact was much larger than usual. The group, including the false Senator Carter, turned to the landing craft. Greet all the Imperium, said fake Carter with pride in his voice before bowing alongside all other aliens. Soon the bottom of the vessel opened, then air came with a strong white smoke. It was revealed look of the leader of this alien race, called Imperium. Everyone was surprised. It was almost like a purple bacterium and several tentacles coming out of various parts. John Jones, it has been a long time, Imperium said and approached to floating. With just a gesture of its tentacles, the material of the Martian prison extended and leaves Martian to front of him. Nevertheless, the Martian does not move his any muscle in his place or show him fear. Recognizing his insolence front of leader, guards of the leader got closer to the Martian and attacked him with their pulse power, causing the target screams and then fell to his knees in pain. All allies were mere observers, powerless to make a move to rescue him. Much better, said leader of satisfaction. We've challenged for centuries, and I never bow down to you or any of your races. Martin confessed, this time turning to the feet. Then I do, that should I have done long time ago. Proclaimed the leader, moved its tentacles in the anticipation and expectation. The end of last Martian, purple tentacles quickly attacked Jean and entered in his skin. It was painful, incredibly painful, and skillfully entered more and more, approaching from his head to front of his right eye. Jean screams louder. The League could only see how twisted Martian with an interior, as the screams and flashes of dying sprouted. He tried to escape even in extreme pain, but it was useless. In fact, the alien kept him captive. Let go, coward, cried Superman. Surrender to us, John Jones, the leader said with conviction. Never, Martian replied, standing firm against the constant torture. Why do you resist? Accept this truth, continued his monologue of superiority. After all these years you are finally lost. You think, he added growling, you were hiding something, a secret deep in the recesses of your mind. He confirms with certainty the nature of the secret feeling, but not truth itself. Is this another of your tricks, Martians? He angrily threatened to Martian. What if I am afraid? Jean replied with certainty. What are you hiding? Ah, cried Martian in pain. Now, Martian said. The rest of the heroes looked at the sound of the explosion and saw Naruto and Batman on the protective layer. Impossible, Green Lantern said. It can't be Batman. The princess's voice was full of wonder and slight shock. Ryujin, but how? Questioned Diana as she and the others turned to look at the Ryujin who imprisoned alongside of them. I put a telepathic field to avoid him detected. Jean confessed. Batman plunged his hand in Crystal and pushed a device in it. Instantly the red layers that surrounded Crystal and walls turned into blue. What have you done? Fake Senator Carter demanded. Reversed the ion charge, responded the Dark Knight. The crystal. Destroy it. The Imperium ordered urgently. Batman and Naruto jumped from the crystal to free their comrades. The aliens shoot Crystal but it did nothing. It's shielded. The facility started to pulse in blue light to the clouds and the dark clouds started to dissipate letting sunlight shine of the facility. Naruto used Mokuton and instantly tree roots or grow from ground and trap most of aliens from escaping in Cry of Rasengan. He hit it to Imperium to set Jean free from his grip. All aliens were start to burn from the scorching light, some even began to melt and evaporate instantly. The Imperium himself was start to burn. You live underground and shun the light. Why? Does it burn your pale putrid skin? Begone with the light, you vile nightmare. Screamed Jean. The creature continued to scream in agony, burning and melting in the scorching ultraviolet rays of the sun. Naruto and Batman went for the others' heroes, who were looking to Naruto in puzzle. Clone, explained Naruto. They turned just in time to see as the imprisoned clone posing as the real Ryujin dissipated into flock of crow. Glad I was able to make new version of Shadow Clone who withstand more hit and damage. Flashback starts. Wait. Where are Batman, Superman and Hawkgirl? Diana questioned. Hawkgirl and Superman are hostage right there. The Martian pointed to the factory smoke in Metropolis. Unfortunately, Batman, the Martian looked down. There was no easy way to say this. Is dead. He fights like a hero. Naruto is looked confused and Diana was really sad death of hero. The Bat died? Questioned in a tone of horror, Flash. This is wrong, very wrong. And it will get worse. The Imperium is on the way. Jean warned. What is the Imperium? Flash questioned. It is the higher intelligence that controls all invaders, and we know it. He added mysteriously. We must hurry and save both of them. We needs all help if we want to defeat Imperium. Well, then begin attack. Said Green Lantern. Flash, you will distract. Diana, Ryujin, you will cover me back. Do you rely on rookies? Diana recalled sarcastically. Yeah, I mean, some rookies are just reckless. Said Naruto with the same sarcasm. When remaining heroes were forming a plan, how they will go to break into the facility and free Superman and Hawkgirl. In this period Naruto made telepathic link with Jean. Jean, what? Reply Jean, surprise hidden in his vice. It's me Ryujin. He look at Ryujin with surprised. Ryujin, how? Are you telepath? That is not important, now. If Batman was really death, how I can sense his life force clearly. Care to explain me? Asked Naruto with serious tone. You can sense life force. Now that explains how you were able found Batman and Superman early today. Never mind, Batman is live, but I put a telepathic field to avoid being him detected by alien. He is very important to my next plan. Okay, so my early theory was correct. They not only adopt Martian shapeshifter ability, also their mind ability. That explain how they know our early plans because they can read our minds. Yes, Jean surprised his explanation. Don't worry, they can't penetrate my mind defense. My mind is too strong for read. Also, I don't tell anyone about Batman. Thanks. Care to tell me your entire plan? Jean clarified their entire plan to Naruto and then he cut their mind link. The remaining heroes formed a plan. They were going to break into the facility and set free Superman and Hawkgirl. Their entrance was faced with little resistance. Occasional teams of 2 guards were in their way but were easily dispatched. When they finally reached their comrades, they entered their holding cell. They meet with Superman and Hawkgirl. "Great Hera," said Diana. "Wait, something's not right," the Martian replied. But the warning was too late. Hawkgirl and Superman both eyes opened, revealing a bright red in contrast to the usual. All the heroes took a step backward. "It's a trap," Green Lantern cried as they watched the entrance they had come was now closed. What happened next was the gas that began to emerge from the walls, causing all began to cough severity. "Lantern, use your rain," Jean cries, coughing forcefully. "No, I can focus my mind," GL responded by dropping to the ground. "Ryujin, use your teleportation," Diana said to Blonde. "That is my chance, though Naruto." He used basic replacement jutsu and replaces himself with special shadow clone, then he teleported. Gotham. Naruto appeared on tall building of Gotham. "So this is Gotham, City of Dark Knight. Now let's find Batman." He concentrates to found Batman's life force after pinpoint his exact location. He vanished with his Jikukan Ito. Gotham Batcave. Batman was using his computer to analyze the crystal which he get from factory with the help of Joan. Naruto suddenly appeared behind Batman, asked, "Found anything?" Out of reflex, Batman tried to hit intruder but found his kick phase thought him. After realizing who was intruder, he questioned him in surprised tone. "Ryujin, how you found location of Batcave?" "Joan told me everything about plan. About other they are captured by aliens but they are still alive. As for me, I able replaced clone with me." "Clone?" Batman questioned. He used shadow clone and perfect replica appeared in cloud of smoke beside real Naruto. "What was that? Some kind of hologram?" asked Batman, looking clone. "No, they're real," he said. "As for how I found this place, just like earlier in military base. I was able pinpoint your location of life force and then teleport here." Batman noted, "So you can teleport anywhere, that explain how you got in military base without noticing, and what about earlier when I tried to kick you but my kick phased through you? If I want I can make myself intangible like Joan." Batman noted again, "So what you found about crystal?" "The crystal seems to generate an ion flux that when released in the atmosphere creates dry rain clouds," said Dark Knight, looking at the data. "Why would they do that?" "I'm not sure. Jean said that they're nocturnal and they intend to cover the sun." Naruto took a thinking position with index finger under his nose and the palm covering his mouth. "Even so. Look the underneath. What was that?" Batman stopped and looked at the blonde. "What? Oh sorry, my old sensei used to tell me that we must be look underneath, blonde said. "Good advice. Thanks. And also something strange happened in factory early today." "What?" "I think they looked scared to sunlight." Realization and shock appeared on Batman's face. "Sunlight? What? Sunlight? The aliens come from deep space, so they must have evolved with no resistance against our solar radiation." Batman's returned, pressing some buttons on the huge computer. "So that's why they are trying to block the sun and why they attacked at night. They had a time limit." "Yes, I think I can change the ion flow of this crystal. That will make the storm disperse and the sun appear," said Batman, pressing buttons on the computer and coming up with a schematic of a portable ion flow device. In Metropolis, Batman and Naruto were appeared on a building a few streets away from the facility. "Alright, do you have a plan?" "Yes, we break in, sneak to the ion matrix crystal and place this emitter on it to change the ion flow. Add and break their legs and it's a plan, let's go." Naruto wrapped both of them towards the facility. Finally they were appeared inside facility, both looked around and saw the rest of the heroes. Then they heard someone screams and looked at the parasitic creature that had its tentacles in Jean's skin and pulling him inside out. Naruto broke the silence. "That must be the leader. That sick, slimy, piece of shit." Naruto looked at the crystal, then back at Batman and nodded. Now, it was Jean that gave the signal. "Step back. Rasengan." Naruto slammed his right arm in the protective crystal with the Rasengan and breaking its protective layer. The rest of the heroes looked at the sound of the explosion and saw Naruto and Batman on the protective layer. Flashback ends. Ultraviolet rays coming from deep space, they have no resistance against our sun's radiation. Told Batman their unasked question. "So you did find their weakness after all," spoke Diana, freeing herself. "Destroy them," ordered the Imperium, its voice wavering. The invaders proceeded to fire their weapons at the superheroes, but Superman covered them by ripping section of the platform and bending it, giving them cover. After freeing themselves, the heroes quickly attacked aliens, with Hawkgirl using her mace to break the invaders apart while Flash and Green Lantern were punching and scattering them around. Superman flew through the surface of the facility and making holes that let sunlight enter and hit the invaders, burning them. The rest of the superheroes proceeded to help him and ripped entire sections of the roof, letting sunlight enter. Naruto used Amaterasu on earlier tree roots to burn or trap aliens and giving Jean some cover, so he got his rightful revenge on the alien parasite. The Imperium managed to free itself from the Martian grip and get in its shuttle. The entrance closed and started to fly, but Diana used her lasso to grip its tail. The shuttle fired a beam from the tail and the princess was forced to deflect it, thus releasing her grip. The shuttle started to fly away, but Hawkgirl flew above it and charged her mace before smashing its nose, disabling it. She continued to strike it. Naruto joined her, giving the final hit with his multiple shadow hand. The shuttle fell and hit the factory, exploding and almost falling on Batman if Flash not rescued him. The facility started to fall apart. "It's time to leave the party," Naruto said, putting his hands together in a cross sign for Cage Bunshin. 20 clones appeared and started releasing captured civilians and carried them with Superman and Flash in a group. Green Lantern appeared and used his ring to make a protective dome around them and started to ascend out of the doomed factory with the rest of the superheroes, Superman holding Flash, Naruto carrying Batman. Hawkgirl and Diana following close behind, getting out just as the facility exploded. The nearby mothership started to ascend, but Naruto quickly got ready with his keens bent. "Like I'd let you leave for what you did," said Naruto. Then he teleported himself behind flying ship and sustained himself in air. He prepared for his next attack. Ryujin no. A black chakra burst before his lips, inviting a torrent of chakra inside his body. Naruto inhaled and his stomach swelled, then his chest, then his cheeks, as all the while the chakra worked its way upward through his body, building into a blinding surge. He thrust his face forward, his lips parted in a defiant scream that rippled forth from his lips, bursting as it was granted release. Hoko. Within a gash of blinding black light, his breath tore forward and slammed into mothership before it suddenly imploded in a massive explosion. Flash let out a whistle of appreciation at the sight. "That guy sure does know how to make some fireworks." As picturesque as this is moment, but there's still more works have to done, reminded Jean. "Then we pick last plan where we split into teams," suggested Superman. "Works for me," replied Batman as he departed towards his jet with his grappling hook. By the time Naruto arrived, only Diana was waiting for him. "We're going to be teams again and we are going to Asia," said Diana. Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Can we stop and get something to eat first?" With that in mind, he sat on the concrete of the building, pulled a small scroll and stretched on the floor, applied some chakra on it, making it appear 2 servings of instant ramen with a water bottle and a small metal container. "Do you think it wise to eat in such a situation?" Diana questioned about the situation they faced. "All battle makes me hungry. So do you want some?" "Do not worry." Blonde quickly took out a small rectangular paper with writing on it. Putting it on metal container, he some pour water inside. The seal inscribed on paper began to glow, causing the vessel began to heat up. "All mobile kitchen equipment, I never go without it. All tag allows you to make this thing." Puzzled wonder, Diana asked. "Seals are useful in many situations," Naruto asked. "So, do you want?" "It looks interesting." "All right," Diana smiled. Diana received a small plastic container and then stopped to eat. Noticing that she had a pair of chopsticks in her hand, Naruto seemed to notice her embarrassment. "You should eat this way," said Blonde by his own example by eating the noodles. "It was a tradition where I come from, but if you want I have a fork." "No, that's fine," assured Diana, seeking to do not offend his new colleague. She took pair of chopsticks with her fingers. The blonde was showing her how to take them. It turned out to be difficult, but she was able to grasp the basic idea almost immediately and then took the noodles to her mouth. Said aloud, not recognizing the taste of something like this before. She smiled, swallowing noodles completely. "This is pretty good, something spicy but tastes great. I knew you'd like." "No one can hate ramen. It is the food of the gods," Naruto said. "Also I know some shortcut for our trip to Asia." Then he wraps both of them and they vanished from sight. 1 month later, the remaining invaders were either destroyed or choose to retreat from the planet. But the world was in confusion about what to do if another attack like this ever occurred. News. It was Batman that came with the answer. Watchtower. Superman was looking out the window at the Earth with Batman, who appeared behind him. Incredible. Do your stockholders know about this, Bruce? He asked the masked hero. A line item is hidden in the aerospace R&D budget. This watchtower will act as an early warning system for detecting other threats of invasion from space. Naruto rose from ground and appeared next to Superman, spooking him a little. Interesting place. Flash and Diana appeared with two glassed in their hands. Flash spoke, "This place does have a fully stoked kitchen." "Ice mocha?" he offered Superman. "No thanks," politely declined the Man of Steel. Diana taking a sip of the drink in her hand. "They don't have these of the Mischira." "Stick around, princess. I'll show you the ropes," offered Flash with a smile. "Perhaps I will," Naruto said in joking manner. "An impressive installation," Green Lantern said, "that descended from above with Hawkgirl." "Most impressive, but what's it got to do with all of us?" Superman turned from their gazes and looked again at the Earth, responding while walking towards the glass. "I once thought I could protect the world by myself, but I was wrong. Working together we saved the planet, and I believe that if we stay together as a team we could become a force that fights for the ideals of peace and justice." "What, like a bunch of super friends?" asked the Flash, getting the idea. "More like a Justice League," he said with a smile. "Do you have any idea how corny that sounds?" said Flash again. "But maybe the big man's got a point. With all of us behind it, it might just work." "Count me in," he reassured, putting his hand on Superman's hand. "Me too," said Green Lantern, approaching them and putting his hand over Flash's. Hawkgirl followed their example, and me, placing her hand on his. Diana looked a little uncertain. "My mother may not approve, but I find man's world to be intriguing. I'll gladly join," she said with confidence, placing her hand on Hawkgirl's hand. Naruto just looked at them with a smirk and knew it was his turn. "I agree with Flash, about it sounding lame, I mean, and you guys are like a magnet for trouble. But I always like adventures. I was never a guy who turns down a challenge. I'm alright with it. I am in," he said, which brought a smirk, then placed his hand on Diana's hand. Everyone looked at Batman, but Superman voiced their thoughts. "What about you, Batman?" The Dark Knight put his head down slightly and answered, "I'm not really a people person. But when you need help, and you will, call me." That just means that he is in, just in his own dark accent. Blonde replay with a smirk. "Understood," answered the Man of Steel. Naruto's stomach was demanding something to eat. Is there ramen in the watchtower?" asked pleadingly. Many of the heroes raised their eyebrows at the strange request of Blonde. Diana was the only one who could answer, smiling. "No, when I presented the cappuccino." Flash tries searching, but no. "Ah, well, lucky that I have months of ramen saved at home," said Blonde and vanished from sight. "You know he really have cool powers," comments Flash. "Does anyone want?" asked Naruto, who reappeared behind Flash from floor, and which frightens Flash. "Don't do that," screamed Flash. "Do what?" Naruto asked innocently. Diana again stepped forward to accept. "I would try that again." "Well, they are unique flavors. I have 10 flavors that not even I tried," Blonde said, following the Amazons to the kitchen. The rest watched incredulous interaction between Diana and Naruto. They certainly do not expect Amazons and understood Blonde so quickly. Lantern was the first to react. "Great, we have another eccentric as Flash," claimed many heads as a sign of agreement. Except for one protest from Hero, who dressed in red. "Hey." Flash looked around. "Wait, Jean is not here. Superman just flew to it." They found Jean sitting in front of the console staring at Mars. "Jean, are you alright?" asked Superman. "My family and loved ones are long gone. I am the last of my kind," he said with an aching heart. Superman placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know the feeling. Mars is dead, and I am alone in the universe." Superman decided to said something. "Jean, we can never replace the family you lost, but we'd be honored if you learned to call Earth your home." Two of them smiled and climbed down to their future teammates that all gathered around them and started to chat. Naruto was walking on the streets of Metropolis in his normal civilian clothes, dressed in a pair of black baggy jeans, with a slender long-sleeved black shirt and a short-sleeved black jacket, with a purple bucket hat on his head and a pair of sneakers on his feet. He was walking on the street doing a little exploring and patrolling. It was 1 year for Icha Icha series. When Naruto entered this dimension, he published first series of Icha Icha Paradise. In 1 year he was published total 3 books of this series. Nowadays Icha Icha was bestseller books in adult literature. He translated those books in many languages. Those books gave him much money. To that point he was rarely need his family money, which was now safe and secured in his personal dimension. One thing proves from those books, we always found perverts in any dimension, thought Naruto. You are one talk about pervert. You are the biggest pervert I know. I know about your prevented dreams about certain heroine. Dragon said in testing tone. Shut up, lizard, Naruto yelled in his mind with small visible blush on his face. Sometimes latter. It has been 2 weeks, nothing happened, Naruto said. Don't worry, hatchling, you are trouble magnet. There nothing normal in your life? Said Dragon. Thanks, Naruto replied in flat tone. Watchtower to Ryujin. Watchtower to Ryujin. Do you copy? Over. He heard on the communicator. Watchtower, this is Ryujin. What's the situation, Jean? The blonde asked. The sensors have detected 4 objects traveling at high speed to somewhere in the city. Replied Jean. I told you, said Dragon. Whatever. Naruto applied quick illusion on surrounding and teleport himself to highest building in city. He activated his seal and changed in his armor. When he did, he looked around and saw 3 lights heading somewhere in the city. Ryujin copied to Jean. I can see them. He saw that the other members had arrived in the javelin, which consisted of Jean, Flash, and Hawkgirl. The targets were red-clad giant-like figures with silverfish metal face and red eyes. Their hands were metallic shiny blue and silver outline around their necks that made it look like it was holding their heads to their bodies. They carried metallic staff-like cylinders that had a hole in the center. Huh. I know what I'm going to steal today, Naruto said, looking at weapon. He was looking between his teammates and the giants. Also, thanks to his advanced hearing, he was able to hear what they were saying. What do you want here? Asked Jean, intent for gathering information. John Stewart, the Green Lantern. Middle giant responded, who clearly not impressed. What for? Asked Flash carefully. The giant continued his search while responding. That's not you concern. Want to bet? Asked the only girl of the group, not enjoying their response. She swung her mace at the robot only to be grabbed in one hand and threw her above his head, like a sack of potatoes. Naruto jumped after her and caught her before she fell on the cars. He sat her down as he joined the fight. He made across the battlefield and threw a punch into the ground. The force transmitted and shot seemingly out of nothingness, catching one of the pursuers in the jaw, sending him flying back. The blonde brought his hands apart and slammed them together, creating sonic waves and sending the giants back. Damn. Glad you're on our side, Flash commented. Other just looked his way and Jean took the opportunity to try to make a grab another giant while his head was turned, but moments before he could reach, the giant raised his metallic stick and sent bluish energy that hits Jean on his midsection, which sending him away. Naruto attacked one with his left hand and ran at him with a high speed. The giant raised his weapon and aimed at him, but his attack phase thought him. That caught him off guard and Naruto plunged a fully developed Odama Rasengan into him. The giant skidded on the ground. Its eyes widened when it realized that the energy ball started to pump more power in it, and he was fully blown into a wall with a hole in his left side of body and electricity released everywhere. Jean in the meantime tried to attack the giants again, but the leader raised its weapon and recalibrated the weapon, making it more powerful. He hit the Martian with more force that sent him flying into window. The giants turned to Naruto and aimed their weapons at him. Why do you interfere? Naruto looked back at them with his Sharingan. He is our friend. You want to harm him, which is enough. The robot didn't even flinch. You don't know what he has done. We are here to take him. Until you tell me what for, you can't pass. The ninja narrowed his eyes at them. Foolish human. Biz. Both aimed their weapons at him and started to fire, although these times with more frequency and less power, but all attack just phased through him. All energy hit some of the buildings and people were still inside. Help us, get us out of here, they screamed. Shit, Naruto saw that they were having problems and he teleported there to help people from the collapsing buildings. The giant who Naruto hit managed to get on its feet and went to his partners and gave them a nod to continue. Their walk wasn't long before Hawkgirl interrupted them and hit the middle giant on back of his head with her mace. She tried to hit the closest opponent with the same mace, but they paired her attack, pushed her back and hit her with a more concentrated energy. That pushed her in the window of a cafeteria and through a wall. Flash tried to cut their path, but the giant that Naruto damaged saw him and tilted his staff horizontally, which made Hiro hit it with his chin, and his velocity caused him to skid on his back and hit a car. Naruto, finally getting everyone out of the collapsing building, turned to the giants. Time to round 2. He jumped at them again, aiming at middle one, but his partner got in the way at last second and tried to hit him, but his attack phase thought him. He used that opportunity swallow this giant to his pocket dimension. 1 down 2 to go, said Naruto, and other giants looked at him surprised. Hawkgirl tried to attack again, but she caught in air by his energy stick and sent her toward car. The giant lifted his weapon, intent in ending the annoyance. Back off. The man in blue himself appeared and did a full body slam into the giant while in air, pushing it into wall and damaging the wall more than the giant. His victory was short-lived as another giant fired on Superman with his staff, catching him off guard. Superman tried to attack him, but he was pushed back by another shot. This time the superhero got on the ground and took the beam in the chest. He continued to walk toward Robot as the beam became more concentrated. His high density allowed him to reach his target and caught stick in his hand. He ripped it out from the giant's hand and breaking it in 2 on his leg. The giant started to wrestle Superman, but the hero's superior strength overwhelmed Machine and it was thrown toward his partner at the wall, who was getting up. Flash got up and relieved at Superman's arrival. "We thought you were busy with an earthquake. It was just a 4. You mind telling me what's going on here?" "I wish I..." Their conversation was cut short when the last giant that was standing on a car fired his staff at both the heroes. Naruto looked at the battle. "Okay, time to new plan." He looked last giant and activates his Ms. He was ready to unleash Kamui on giant. Stop. Their attacks were stopped by a wall of green energy and command of a very familiar voice. John Stewart, the Green Lantern, appeared and stopped their attacks. "Better late than never," Flash replied with a smirk. Green Lantern turned toward giants and simply walked front of them with hardened eyes, surprising the rest of the league. "You the Green Lantern known as John Stewart?" asked the giant in the middle. "I am," confirmed John. "Your ring," was its only reply with an opened hand. John hesitated only slightly before handing over his ring. "John, what are you doing?" was the league's response to his odd behavior. "Stay out of this," was his only response to the team. "You will come with us." The giants now surrounded him and placed a pair of advanced cuffs on his hands to prevent any form of escape. A yellow beam hit them from the sky, effectively teleporting them away from the planet in a display of lights. "Oh KKKK, that not in my plan." Naruto voiced their thoughts as they watched them leave. Ajuris 5. John's ship had finally stopped and landed on a planet that even from space looked very populated. In the spaceport, John was met by a very large crowd of unhappy aliens that screamed and carried signs with the emblem of the Green Lantern with a cross cutting on it. This was definitely not the best welcomes, but John looked at it and he was not least bit surprised. When he reached his destination, he was welcomed by his Green Lantern comrades that welcomed him with a scorn, showed signs of disgust and anger at him. "Gallius, Arcas, Kilowog, good to see you." In deep inside he was expecting them to stand up for him for their shared history. Yet their welcome shattered that feeling. "I wish I could say the same, Stewart, you're a disgrace for the Corp." He was slightly shocked that they abandoned his associates so quickly, but he expected it. "Get me out of here," he told to his guards, who proceeded to take him away. One of the robots hit one of the Green Lanterns, who scorned behind his back, yet the machine still heard. He turned around with his staff. He was ready for attack, but an arm on his shoulder stopped it. The arm belonged to the head manhunter. No, not yet. John was taken to a platform that held other aliens with a barrier of light. He guessed that this was a holding cell. "What's next?" he asked the manhunter that brought him. "Your trial will begin soon. If I had been programmed with emotions, I'd almost feel sorry for you." The giant turned around and left John, who turned himself to look at the shattered remains of a planet in the sky, then closed his eyes and his face features changed to guilt and regret. Earth Watchtower. John was looking at space. He was using his telepathy for the past hour to tracking John and looking for him. Turning around to face his teammates, I sense turmoil, a heavy heart. I could have told you that. Flash replied, and then returning to his position with both arms crossed. John is put on trial for genocide. Trial will hold on planet Ajuris-5. Naruto replied, making everyone turn to him who was teleport to Watchtower. He slides head of Manhunter robot to Superman feet. According to this robot memory, John is responsible for destruction of planet of 3 billion inhabitants, Ajuris-4. What? Superman asked and shook. That why he doesn't fight back, because he truly feel responsible Ajuris-4 destruction. But I don't think GL really responsible for planet destruction. In whole story some factor are still missing. Everyone had wide eyes at his description. Impressive. He was able to found that much in short time. Thought the Martian. This guy sometimes reminds me of Flash, Superman and Batman. He is good, thought Hawkgirl, also impressed by his experience. This guy, he's like a second Batman sometimes. And he knows how to make it look good, though Flash impressed as well. I wonder if Batman gives him any lessons, thought Superman, who also impressed. I have one question. Flash asked, pointing at Robot Head, where you find that tin can? Our last fight I just capture one of them, and with the help of Batman we able to extract some information from his memory. Flashbacks. Pocket dimensions. We could see Manhunter robot personal parts were laying on ground. What are we going to do now? It was really bad idea, used new attack for interrogation, thought Naruto. I was telling you from that start, you can't use human interrogation technique on robot. Now you want other person help who have real knowledge of modern technology, said Dragon. I know one person, said Blonde. He wrapped himself and vanished from sight. Gotham Batcave. Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, was using his computer to analyze Gotham crime report. Master Bruce, your meeting will start at sharp 1 p.m. Inform Butler Alfred. Yes, Alfred. Who thought that famous Dark Knight of Gotham is rich businessman Bruce Wayne? Voice said from darkness. Whose is there? Demand Bruce aka Batman. Naruto was come out from shadow. Ryujin, said Batman. Sorry, I came here for asking your favor, but, sorry. Let's do this, I know your identity, so. Naruto said and removed his mask. It is fair, you know my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Are you really Naruto Uzumaki, writer of famous Icha Icha? Asked Alfred. Yes, replied Naruto. He took orange book from his pocket and took front of Naruto. Can I get your autograph? Sure, why not? He gave him autograph. Behind them Batman really felt not well, because now Ryujin known his personal identity and he already know Batcave's secret location. Positive side was he also knows Ryujin identity. This whole thing was giving him major headache. What do you want, Ryujin? I come for asking your help. What kind helps? He told him all situations. Okay, where all those robot parts? He took one scroll from pocket and unseals all part of robot. Okay, I will try to get information from parts, but I don't think we get much information from this. Then he went for collect information. Flashback ends. Time for save friend, said Naruto. Ajuris 5 space. Approaching the planet they were discussing the events again. I'm beginning to think all you humans are strange. Hawkgirl responded. Superman held sad, apologetic chuckle. This coming from a mace swing woman, with wings, who first bash people head then ask question. Naruto's replied from behind her with a smirk. And you call humans strange, he continued. Hawkgirl turned around and faced him with an angry scowl. A look that would have made any man that knew her shake in his boots. But I suppose that's your charm, he said, flashing a smile as Hawkgirl's hand twitched. She couldn't decide whether to bash blonde head in or say thank you. Suddenly they were attacked from the front by 3 patrol ships. They're not responding to our signal, said the red hero, double-checking his panel. It's clear what they want. I say we give it to them. She was already preparing weapon when her hand was caught in a strong grip by Naruto. We are come here for save our friend, not for throw ourself in jail, said Naruto. Ryujin is right. Let's take them down without harm. He turned around and Hawkgirl, Jean and Naruto were already following him. Flash takes the controls. Flash, take the controls. Does anyone ask if I know how? Replied Flash. Superman, Jean and Naruto were taking down their power supply that forced the ships to land. Hawkgirl on the other hand flew the last ship, sending it crashing down. When Naruto saw her, he palmed his own face and teleport beside her. Do you understand the words, minimal damage? He asked sarcastic as he about saved ship, but he was relieved to see that Superman flew and caught the ship, saving the pilots. Now another problem was appeared. Apparently the Javelin activated an autopilot and flying toward the port, but the way was so narrow that the ship was skidding on the surrounding buildings, sending sparks everywhere. Before Javelin crashed, Naruto used Mokuton Jutsu to capture Javelin with tree branches. Then he saw himself between security team of over a dozen soldiers with their weapons aimed at him, but he vanished with flock of crows and reappeared front of his team. What the hell that? Hawkgirl asked with pointing to overgrown tree. Wood release. With that I can create wood and other aspects of trees, such as seeds or flower. The rest of the league just shake their head for Blonde's unusual abilities. Green Lantern is close by. That way. Joan pointed at a huge structure with 2 towers for support holding a dome-shaped object. Naruto used his ability to teleport them inside the glass dome. Oh no. Green Lantern didn't take their arrival very well, in fact he looked disappointed. Remove these intruders immediately, commanded the third tribunal judge. A trio of the reptilian court guards jumped on some levitating discs and flew up to where the league members had entered, intent on apprehending them. Superman used his speed and strength to knock them all of the discs and down to the ground. As the manhunters also serving as security moved to engage them, Superman turned to tribunal judges. Wait. We apologize for interrupting these proceedings, but John is our friend. Everyone froze and went silent as the judges took a moment to discuss the situation. This is a public trial, reasoned the female judge. Very well, you may take seats in the gallery, stated the relenting third judge. But this tribunal will tolerate no further interruptions or outbursts, declared the tribunal chief. Thank you, Your Honor, replied Superman before they all moved toward gallery. Are you ready to call your first witness? Asked the judge. One of the aliens that looked very skinny with a yellow bald head with no eyebrows, purple eyes with a black instead of white with some strange round devices for ears, dressed in a futuristic robe, came forward. I am, my lord. I call Kenja R.O. As he spoke, a human-sized figure appeared with pinkish skin with insect-like eyes with a long nose. The teeth that looked sharp came forward, dressed in a blue and pants and a matching blue with white sleeveless shirt with a helmet on his head that had space design. In all he looked like a cross between shark, human and insect. Kenja R.O., you agree to let us probe and display all memories you have? Asked one of the guards. I got nothing to hide. He spoke, getting on a disc. It flew him straight to the prosecutor, who started asking questions. State your name and profession. Kenja R.O., I'm a pirate. A criminal. Yet you come here to bear witness to another crime. Why? I may steal things, but it's nothing compared to what he did. The pirate pointed at John Stewart. The pirate told a story about how he found some blasters, how he was flying toward a Juris 4, how he attacked by John, how his ship was disabled and how he crashed on a moon. He then told how his friends attacked Lantern in an attempt to save Kenja R.O. and finally how John fired his beam at one of the ships, which had deflector energy shields that bounced his beam at a Juris 4 in a volcanic region, causing a devastating chain reaction that caused the planet to explode. 3 billion, that's how many, were on that planet. Everyone looked startled and speechless until they started to whisper. Naruto was thinking of the scenario and the pirate. I have no more questions. The prosecutor finished. This account is most disturbing. We will recess, spoke the judge. The monitor shot off and the aliens left on their break. The Justice League went to meet John. I told you to stay out of this, spoke John urgently. Why would you want that, John? We're your friends, spoke Flash, looking at him. Hawkgirl looked at the pirate. That scum is an obvious liar. Give me 5 minutes alone with him and I'll get the truth, she spoke with clenched teeth and narrow eyes. Hawkgirl, Flash, all of you listen to me. Nobody is lying. Do you see that? He asked, looking at the rubble. I did it, I'm guilty. Have you lost your mind, John? Questioned Flash, breaking shock. That's what happened, and it's time to take that responsibility, returned Lantern. Lantern, there is too much holes in this story and too many coincidences to make it believable. Naruto responded, there is witness, but he cuts off. How can it be a lie if I was there? Snapped Lantern, getting annoyed with his teammate. His eyes were glowing greener with his anger. Take it easy, man, we're just trying to make sense of this. Flash tried to calm the storm between these two. I don't want your help and I didn't ask you to come here for help me. I know what happened and nobody going to change that. This is way over your head. Go home, returned the frustrated hero, having enough with this annoyance. Now John, Naruto said in cold tone. John looked at Naruto, whose eyes now red and strange designed in it. Madara M's, all superheroes were found themselves in deep forest, where all trees were dead, crows were circling around them, and strange thing was that moon. The moon was blood red and 4 rings 9 comma on it. Tree roots were burst from ground behind John and coiling itself around him. Listen to me, continued Naruto in his cold tone. There are so many holes in this entire incident. First, your witness is criminal. Second is blast. If blast deflected by shields means blast was not strong enough to overpower the shields on a ship, yet it was powerful enough to destroy an entire planet. Third is we don't know that was your beam or other factor was destroy planet, so my conclusion is simple, someone trying to frame you, John. All hero kept silent. Keep your hope, John, because things are not always what they seem. And surrounding returned to normal. One of the manhunter's robots approached Lantern from behind. It's time to return your cell. John does as he was told, lowering his sight to the ground. He turned his back on his team and walked to the holding area. The team was left to think about the situation. What was that? Hawkgirl said, looking at Naruto, whose Sharingan was active. Illusion, answered Naruto. I am asking about your eyes, asked Hawkgirl. That is secret, replied Naruto. Sometimes that guy is more secretive than Batman, Flash said, and everyone nodded in agreement. Naruto was walking away from his team and looking at the rocky remains of the planet Ajuris 4. I want you to take a closer look at what happened, Naruto said to Superman. Why? Hawkgirl asked. John maybe believe he's guilty, but I don't. Also, I already told all of you. Something is missing in all incidences. Someone is trying to frame John or all Lantern Corps. Naruto answered. How? Asked Flash. Because I can sense billions people's life energy which is coming from rocky remains of the planet Ajuris 4. That's right, so we are going to investigate what really happened. John, I need you to come with me. Ryujin, Hawkgirl and Flash, do you think you can buy us some time in court? Added the Man of Steel, making a plan. You're asking the world's fastest man to slow things down? It won't be easy. Flash was not very sure how to accomplish this. Naruto just smirked and said, then just as what you do best, confuse them. That I can do, responded Flash with a smile. While Naruto, Flash and Hawkgirl returned to the stands, Superman and John were on their way to the Javelin. Ajuris 4 moon. Reaching their destination, John broke the silence. So, what are you expecting to find on this moon? I don't know. There's something bothering me here, like Ryujin, responded the hero. Just call it in intuition, completed the Martian. Exactly. Court gallery. Several minutes later, the court was ready to resume. John came on a floating disc in front of the monitor of 3 judges and Kenja Ro being on a similar disc, ready to be questioned. John Stewart, you may now question your accuser, proclaimed the judge. No questions, responded John without hesitation and lowering his in shame. This shocked the entire gallery. Even his teammates looked at each other and all had one thing on their mind. Has he lost it? Right now, this guy makes Orochimaru sane and straight, thought Naruto. That's a very big comparison. There's no way Orochimaru was straight. With your memory, I think either he was gay or pedophile, responded Dragon. None. Don't you intend to defend yourself? Asked the female voice of 3 judges, who shocked herself at this turn of events. No, I don't, answered Green Lantern. The disc that was holding the pirate in the air floated down effortlessly. I object, Flash demanded. I say this is a joke. Are you out of your mind? Flash, what do you think you're doing? Hawkgirl hissed, pulling Flash down. No, Hawkgirl, let the Flash distract him. Lantern won't be able to buy us time which we need now. It is best Flash handle them. Why aren't you doing this? Flash questioned to Naruto. I and Hawkgirl will be questioning the people around to try to find any lead about what really happened. Right, assured Flash, understanding. Remove him. Their conversation was interrupted by one of the judges. 2 reptilian guards were already closing in on him, but Flash's superior speed allowed him to escape and evade the other guards. He reached at center of the gallery. Listen to me. Something important like this, you have to hear both sides. He tried seriously to get them to understand his implications. Flash, I told you not to get involved, voiced Lantern, trying to keep his friend out of trouble. Sorry, but I already involved, Flash tried to reason with Lantern, but he was pulled into a headlock by one of the guards with two more reaching behind him. Wait, this being may have a point. We don't want any lingering thoughts about our final judgment, do we? Interrupted female voice and stopped the roughhousing. Of course not, responded the other male voice, but who will speak for Jon Stewart? Don't you have any lawyers here? Asked Flash, freeing himself from the guard's grip. We solved our lawyer problem a long time ago, answered the central voice of the judges. However, you can speak for him, if you wish, added the female voice. But be aware, if you lose, you will share the same penalty as the accused, completed the last voice. The same penalty? That's crazy. Flash was starting to feel the stress already. No, that's how we solved our lawyer problem. What's your answer? Damn, now that's just cold. I'll defend him, answered Flash, determined. Very well, proceed. Right, sure. Flash cleared his voice and got on the disc that floated in front of court. Naruto watched as the red-costumed hero started to talk about some random lawyer talk that doesn't made any sense. Hawkgirl palmed her face and signed while Naruto just smirked as Flash was doing his best to create confusion. Hawkgirl looked at where the John's fellow Lantern comrades were supposed to be and noticed that they left. Hey, the guys in green are gone, she whispered to Naruto. That's our first clue, he said as they slipped out. Flash, what are you doing? We are going to find some clue, Naruto said to Flash telepathy. Okay, replied Flash. He also told Karasu watched on Flash in any case of emergency. Let's track them down. Any idea where they could be? Asked Naruto. Most likely in the local cantina. Where else would arrogant blowhards spend their time? She answered, getting an angry look on her face due to their quarry's lack of camaraderie despite. Ajuris 5 Cantina. Naruto aka Ryujin and Hawkgirl entered in Cantina and immediately saw the Lantern Corps. Actually, it was kind of hard not to notice them. Waiter, another round, ordered the short round one. They both approached the table and both were barely restraining themselves to see such lack of concern for their friend. You know one of your own is there and his life is on the line. Least you can do is attend the trial, asked Naruto. Huh, we couldn't stand it anymore. Spoke the rounded one. Jon Stewart made us all look bad. This time more humanoid alien spoke. Naruto frowned at this. So you're saying that being a Green Lantern is popularity contest to you and because of John your popularity is now decrease. That's why you don't want to take side with him or support him. Hawkgirl decided to add her 2 cents. Huh, so much loyalty for the fellow Lantern Corps. Huh, don't get so high and mighty. If you two are smart, you'll stay away from him too, returned the round one again. Otherwise, you'll wind up reeking in his stench. Again it was from humanoid. Cowards. Hawkgirl tried to bring her mace down on the table but Naruto's hand grabbed the mace before she could bring it down. She turned to Naruto with gritted teeth and looked into his calm eyes. Are you just going to let them talk about him like that? She argued with him. The other lanterns as well as the rest of the cantina had their eye wide at him. Naruto finally released her mace, looked right in her eyes. Remember what I said when we arrived on this planet? Hawkgirl looked down but still held a frown on her face. That we didn't want trouble. Huh? The rest of the arrogant, lazy lanterns had smirks on their faces seeing Hawkgirl got put in her place. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly, and then spoke in cold tone, good. Then forget it. Hawkgirl raised her head up. Her eyes were as wide as dinner plates. Naruto looked back at each lantern with his Sharingan. These guys just crossed that line when they abandoned their friend, and my teacher always said that, while those who break the rules are trash, those who abandon their friends are worse than trash. And these guys are less than trash in my eyes. Naruto finished cold tone. With a swift, almost untraceable movement he kicked up the table, making the plates that had some sort of pasty substance jump in the air and land upside down and splattering all food on the lanterns. Why you? A fish bird-like lantern called who was furious on Naruto. Hawkgirl instantly smirks and spoke, now, you're speaking my language. She instantly went on the offensive with her mace and tried to attack the closest lantern. Who made shield with his ring? It was the humanoid one. She proceeded to keep striking at the lantern even with his ring activated. Thought she couldn't break the shield, but she did manage to push him back till he hit his round friend that fell out of his seat. The bartender saw that commotion. He was a small blue alien, a meter high, with 6 tentacles instead of arms or legs, slid on the floor and got between them. My friends, please. No weapons, no weapons. You think I need this mace to take you pussies down? Asked Hawkgirl before throwing her mace in one of the support columns, making it stick in there. The bartender slid to safety and the lanterns depowered their reins. The human-like alien with fangs attacked the heroine to punch her. She evaded, followed by a left hook in his chin, then punches to his upper chest and his face. She pulled her right arm back and Falcon punched the dazed lantern in the face, sending him on their table. Naruto on the other hand looked at his opponent who was trying to tackle him, but Naruto simply leant back and allowed the alien to land face first on the ground. The ninja picked him up with ease and threw him around like a basketball while the lantern groaned. Naruto picked him again and tossed alien in the bar. Another lantern, this one looking like a cross between a human with a seahorse with a beak for a mouth, tackled Hawkgirl on the ground. Though before he could do anything, she used her foot to push the alien off her and into the neon sign above the bar, shattering them. Another lantern, this one being the most different, he had a fish-like shape with 4 short tentacles, 1 eye and 4 feet, tried to punch Naruto, but the blonde threw a punch at him and sending him flying. The short alien was getting more and more annoyed as he tried to jump attack on Naruto, but the blonde simply bent backwards, making the little lantern miss again and almost hit the window. But last lantern had been watching the fight and lifted his hand to grab his comrade to stop him from breaking the window. The lantern that Hawkgirl first fought was back on his feet and rushing to get back in the fight, but was met with a hard right hook from her that sent him flying through the thick window that his comrade missed seconds ago. These guys are nothing without their reins, thought Naruto. He looked at all the lanterns that were in the bar. You guys are pathetic, Naruto said in cold tone. Then whole bar was surrounded by murder of crows, which were now attacking lanterns. Lanterns tried to use their ring to defend themselves, but their rings were not working. Then all crows above them turned to shuriken and stabbed into them. You are nothing without your rings. If you cannot protect your comrade, how you will protect world? Their surrounding becomes normal. They found themselves exact same spot. Kilowog, the last lantern, saw enough. No more, they're right. Jon Stewart is one of us, and I'm going to help him. He turned to the exit and flew at the gallery. While the winged heroine pulled out her mace, Naruto turned to bruised lanterns that were getting on their feet. You guys should really train your bodies more. Sometimes it means the difference between life and death. Hawkgirl was now flying beside Naruto when she noticed something in an alley. He isn't that the scumbag with a manhunter? Naruto looked where she pointing. Looks like he might not be working alone. Naruto sent his clone the gallery where Flash was making a show that would make Shakespeare rip his hair out. Ajuris Moon 4. While the 3 heroes were buying time, Superman and Jean were exploring the moon. See anything wrong with this picture? Asked Superman, looking at the ground. Where should I start? Asked Jean. The loss of life. The echoes of our own pasts, asked Jean. No, not that. This, he pointed at the moon. It can't be. The Martian widened his eyes. But it is. This moon is still orbiting a planet which doesn't exist. It should have flown off into space the moment the planet was destroyed. But it didn't? Superman made a conclusion rather than a question. No, he never did more than he needed. He alien responded. Ajuris 5 Tribunal Gallery. Kilowog was just finishing his story in which he and John were paired together and the man risked his life to save the alien. Flash had a good idea to ask the alien about his past with Jon Stewart, but Naruto's clone contacted with him. Flash, ask Kilowog if John ever expressed aggressive tendencies and then follow my sentences, Naruto said telepathy. Flash nodded and turned to Kilowog. In your experience with John, has he ever expressed any aggressive tendencies? No, he never did more than he needed. The alien responded. Has he ever used his powers for self-gain? Flash smiled and asked the alien, has John ever used his powers for self-gain? Not in my whole life have I never seen John use his powers for anything selfish. And how would you describe John's reputation among the Green Lanterns before this incident? Flash moved his lips in a smile. Good thinking, Ryu. And how would you describe John's reputation among the Green Lanterns before this incident? John was respected by all the lanterns around the universe. His reputation is one of the best, and when you're in a team with John, you know you got a real friend watching your back. Flash concluded as well. Thank you, Kilowog. John couldn't have asked for a better character witness. Then he turned to the prosecutor. Yours turns. The alien looked at Kilowog and asked, Kilowog, can you tell me exactly what a Green Lantern does? Simple, we catch bad guys. Commendable, but how do you know who the bad guys are? Forced the prosecutor again, forcing his point. How? I just know. Kilowog was taken back by this question and looked undetermined. Clone Naruto suddenly felt a headache coming his way. Oh, so you're saying you use your obviously superior intellect to rottenly sort out matter of life and death. This time the prosecutor raised his hand out to the judges to make his point known. I didn't say. Well, yeah, kind of. Quote, the prosecutor continued, and then you and the other Green Lanterns enforce these decisions with those incredibly deadly rings. He was obviously trying to tarnish the reputation of the Lantern Corps. I guess you could put it that way. Flash looked defeated. Even he saw how easily the prosecutor twisted the truth to his favor. The prosecutor decided to push on. Who said you could do this? WHO gave you the right? We did, answered the voice of a new character. This one along with others 4 were size of a small humans with bluish skin and robes with black going from the collar to the shoulders and chest going in V-shape, stopping at the center of the chest, ending at a symbol of the Green Lantern, and going down covering their legs in red color. They all were the same size but had different faces and hairstyles. Moon of Ajuris 4. Jean and Superman had been scouting the planet and finally discovered a huge device that they suspected was designed to create illusions over objects or space. They concluded that because of it, the moon had remained in orbit. They were wondering who could make such a machine when they were fired by a ship. The ship piloted by the pirate Kenja Ro, and he was determined to bury heroes along with the device. He made his escape when he saw red eyes with strange design in it and everything goes black. Superman, who along with Jean who survived the rockslide, tried to follow ship but it was useless. They found Hawkgirl and Ryujin with unconscious pirate Kenja Ro. They rejoined their teammates. Hawkgirl answered their unanswered questions. We followed him here from Ajuris 5. So he was the one responsible for this? Asked Superman. Not exactly, answered Ryujin. Somewhere in a barracks of Ajuris 5. It is time, brothers, time to avenge 1,000 years of grievances, time to regain our power and dignity. Said head manhunter to a room full of manhunters. Yeah, our plan has worked flawlessly so far. We have created distrust in the Lantern Corps and stained their reputation forever, but beyond that, we have succeeded in luring our most hated enemy away from their home planet of Oa. Yes, they're here. The Guardians. He preached to them. Destroy. Destroy. The crowd of manhunters screamed as they released their staffs that extended. No, my brothers. Not here. Not now. Our destinies lay elsewhere, but rest assured. The Guardians will burn. For the manhunters. No man escapes the manhunters. They cheered. Somewhere in shadow Black Raven was watching them. Ajuris 5 Tribunal Gallery. Flash and Clone Naruto ran out of questions, and though they had managed to reveal that the ring doesn't have that power to cause such destruction, and the Guardians trusted John. The representative of the Guardians was questioned by the prosecutor. It's true that we Guardians control the lantern power source, but the individual lanterns have complete autonomy. So if one of them does something wrong, it's not your fault? The prosecutor responded, trying to twist the answer. You misunderstand. We give them autonomy because we trust their experience and no other questions, Your Honor. How much more must we hear? We demand immediate judgment. The prosecutor asked, getting annoyed at the constant interruptions. I object, returned Flash. Overruled, returned the judges, also getting tired with this mix of comments. Having heard all facts, we will now consider, responded the judge, the monitor shutting off. Flash was floating from his disc to the ground, meeting John on the way down. We did everything we could. I wish you hadn't, was his only reply. Naruto clone disappeared with cloud of smoke. The judges returned minutes later. It is clear, Jon Stewart is a privileged hero and deserves respect. We even dare say that if the stakes hadn't been so high, we could look other factor and give a less sentence. However, an example must be made, that none is above justice on this world, even heroes. Quote, do you wish to make a statement before we pass sentence? Asked the female judge to John. No, he answered. Very well, the sentence is termination. For you and your advocate, answered another voice. A huge dome was suddenly rose from the liquid that was above the center of the gallery. The dome opened and both were pushed on a platform and led to the dome. Wait, I want an appeal. Flash asked, trying to buy more time and to survive. Will you show some dignity for once in your life? Asked. demanded John, accepting his fate. This isn't right, we can't just sit here. We have to think of the others like us, we all need to be held accountable. We have too much power not to be. Both were put on the platform and the surrounding walls closed, forming a semi-sphere. The semi-sphere turned out to be a gas chamber. Suddenly all gas in chamber swallowed by some kinds of rap hole and very familiar cry of Rasengan crushed the inner shell of the chamber and quickly got Flash and John out. You know what you do without me, said very familiar voice. Ryu? Flash asked in surprise. How dare you, demanded the judge. Superman and John arrived with the pirate in their grip. Stop! He flew to where Naruto had been able to revive John and used his heat ray to destroy the advanced cuffs that were holding John. Superman turned around. John is innocent. He then whispered in his earpiece, "That's your cue, hot girl. I hope you can hear me." Loud and clear, she answered before throwing her powered mace at device on the moon, destroying it. The image was suddenly clear, and where the debris of a planet used to stand, now stood the planet itself, full of life and undamaged. Everyone in the gallery was shocked, too shocked to say anything. Superman decided to answer their unasked question. Edurus 4 was never destroyed. It's right where it always was. It was all an illusion, a frame-up, as they say on my planet. John saw the pirate and tackling him to the ground as hard as he could. Finally losing his temper at how easily he was fooled. Why did you do this to me? Why? For money, answered the pirate, frightened. Whose money? The Manhunters. Superman noticed that the Guardians were leaving. Come on, he voiced, and everyone followed them. GL. Lantern wanted to smash the bastard's face in, but Flash's call stopped him. Letting go of the scum, he gestured his ring to come to him, and it obediently did get on his finger. He was ready again. Manhunter barracks. The Guardians had already reached there first. We're too late, we had to go back immediately. Not so fast, voiced Flash. The Guardians ignored him and floated past him only to meet Superman. What's going on? He demanded. We don't have time for this. They meet Naruto this time. They left for Oa, haven't they? He asked. The Guardians were surprised that he knew that and yet confirmed his hunch. Yes, they went back to Oa. John was right behind Naruto. Back to Oa? You mean they'd been there before? Yes, we created them there, confirmed the lead Guardian. Say what? Asked Flash. It was before the Lantern Corps. We thought robots would make good peacekeepers, but they were flawed. They couldn't understand the subtle gradations between good and evil, he answered. Superman asked next. Why didn't you decommission them? We reprogrammed them for lesser duties, tracking, hunting, guarding. They didn't seem to object. Not outload, but they did, added John. Naruto looked at them. They despise you, and the head honcho said something about getting back their power, glory, and revenge. Would you happen to know what he meant? He asked. How do you know this? Asked the head Guardian. I've spied on them a little while before you showed up. And I've heard their plans. Why didn't you say anything? Asked John. Because that time it was not good idea. Go in front of the court and tell them that their most elite hunters and guardians are all crazy. They trying to do massive genocide, while at the same time planning revenge on a bunch of people I've never heard of. Naruto replied imaginarily. They have a huge advance ahead of us. We have to get to Oa as fast as possible. Concluded the head Guardian. In space close to Oa, Naruto found himself asking the Guardians a question that has been bothering him for a while. How are we going to beat all of them? Anything I can do will cause mass destruction. The Manhunters were directly connected to our superior computers in Oa. The remaining Guardians must have disconnected them by now. So left to themselves there is a better chance at beating them. There are still a lot of them, Naruto said. Planet of Oa. The planet was under attack, and with no Green Lanterns to protect them, the 5 Guardians were left slowly losing. The planet was mostly barren but held a great fortress with dozens of cannons. Now it seemed that with all the commotion of John's trial, the Lantern's absence, and with half the Guardians presenting themselves for trial to save one of their own, that caused their military power was cut down. The Manhunters seemed BLLZZZZ. Blizz. Cannon after cannon fired, but they were slowly overrun, destroyed, or captured. The Guardians in the core were weakening. Until now they had been supplying the defenses with lantern energy and focused on the aiming, but the strain was getting them. It would be only a matter of time until they would be overtaken. The manhunters had finally reached them and they were about to signal their final attack when the sounds of explosions resonated. The Justice League of Superman, Jean, Green Lantern, Flash and Ryujin along with the remaining Guardians were arrived blazing guns. "They can't stop us, brothers." "No one can," voices the head manhunter. "Give them everything we got." Superman flew through the robots breaking them to pieces while Flash and Green Lantern worked together as a team with Flash taking the front and John watching his back. Jean and Naruto in the meantime phased through the towers and disabled the cannon while Flash was trying to ascend the tower, but the blasts from the manhunters on the tower caused debris to fly everywhere, and one piece that landed on his forehead was enough to knock him out. John appeared on the spot and created a shield, but the firepower was overwhelming him. Two giants flew above Lantern and Flash and landed behind them. Lantern was now in trouble. He was flanked from both sides and due to all the lasers didn't even see the giants fly above him. Shadow Sphere, the black ball of energy, blasted the two metallic beings and destroys them. Naruto turned to John and saw that he was having problems. He was on one knee and barely holding on. The shield of energy that he had created to protect Flash was collapsing as holes from the manhunters' attacks were slowly overwhelming him. Too much power. Must hold on, thought GL. Shadow Hand. Naruto called attack to destroy them. "Thank you," John said as Naruto helped him up. "You are welcome," Naruto replied. Just then Hawkgirl with the rest of the Lanterns form Ajuris 5 arrived. Looks like the cavalry have arrived," John said. Naruto looked around seeing Superman, Hawkgirl and the other Lanterns doing short work of the manhunters. "Go Lantern. I'll look after Flash till he wakes up." "Got it," agreed John as he flew to the center of the fortress reaching the source. A minute later Flash woke up. "Oh, what hit me?" "Don't know? Did you piss Hawkgirl again?" Naruto asked with a smirk. "No. Can you stand?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "Good. I got to go," Naruto said and sank underground. He appeared in front of manhunter robots and used snake sign. Mokuton. Kajukai Korin literal, wood release. Advent of a world of flowering trees, called name of jutsu and created dense forest of poison flowering trees and bound all manhunter robots. Then acidic poisonous gas that was produced by those flower melted them. He teleported to the ground and heard John screamed, "No." One manhunter had entered the core started to be released as the energy seemed to be gathering around the robot. The Guardians finally arrived but they could do nothing now as the robot shed his metallic skeleton and became part of the energy itself. He continued to grow and grow till he was 1 meter tall. "Now I am the power." The giant screamed as he continued to gather energy. The energy of John's ring left him as well as the aura and energy of the Guardians. "All is lost," spoke the leader of the Guardians weakly. John and Naruto returned to the core, not while we're still standing. John's energy completely left him, even his eyes were now black. "It's all you from here on, John. You can do it. Reach deep inside of yourself. Draw out your power through the planet. You can do it," Naruto said as Lantern nodded and concentrated on his ring. Sure enough, the energy of the planet slowly seeped into the ring as John began to chant. "In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight." It was working, their efforts gathered the energy and the monster with it. "Let those who worship evil's might. Beware my power. Green Lantern's light." Finally all the energy was gathered. Rathsa. Green light engulfed both as the energy of the lantern was restored and cleansed from corruption, the monster having been destroyed by the flow of energy. The Guardians could now gather the energy again and their power was restored. They approached both and the head Guardian looked at John. "We choose wisely when we offered you the ring." "Thank you, John Stewart." They bowed their heads. John didn't look too happy, actually he looked disappointed. They then turned to Naruto, "You as well." The battle ended and the once majestic fortress of Oa was now littered with remain of the manhunters and the rubble. The lanterns were gathered around Hawkgirl. "You and that other guy are great fighters, lady." "But we already knew that, didn't we?" responded the fanged one, now laughing at their victory. They turned around and saw John return from the tower. John only glided down and Naruto suddenly appeared front of them. They were both attacked by praises and John by apologies. "I guess we were wrong about you, John. We should have known better." John turned to them and simply responded, "Yes, you should have," before leaving to his team, his real team. Naruto left closely behind Lantern. "Are you both alright?" asked Jean. Lantern just closed his eyes and looked at them all. "You believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." Flash leaned on his elbow. "What are friends for?" He smiled and both exchanged looks. "We're a team. John and friends look out for each other," responded the blonde. "Let's go home." John created a shield around all of them and it started to fly them back to Ajuris 5 and to the javelin.